Celestial Immortal Clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601 Bird Thief. Lin Changqing looked at the quiet environment around him, and suddenly thought that this was really a good place to destroy corpses and wipe out traces. After all, in 3 months, this secret realm will return to the void, and by then, there will be no traces. The next time it appears, it will take 3 Jiazi years, so this is really a very suitable place. So immediately took out all the things that needed to be dealt with before, and dealt with them here. Suddenly I felt a lot more relaxed. After all, carrying these things on my body is more or less unlucky. After burying all the ashes in the soil and performing a birth-inducing spell, after confirming that there were no traces left, Lin Changqing continued to set off. I have to hurry during the day, so I dare not be distracted to check the spoils. I will find a campsite at night and then slowly check the harvest. After flying forward for more than 2 hours, I suddenly saw a relatively prominent cliff hundreds of feet high in the distance. And just above the cliff, there is a huge black-feathered black thunderbird, circling there. Lin Changqing immediately landed in the woods below. This is a little exciting. I won't be so unlucky. This is running directly to the nest of the black-feathered black thunderbird. Although Lin Changqing killed a 3rd-level black thunderbird yesterday. But it was a coincidence that made the sneak attack successful. Now he doesn't have the strength to confront the 3rd-level monster head-on. Although the two sides are still far away, based on the impression of the glimpse just now, he feels that it must be a 3rd-level black thunderbird. Maybe it is a family with a 3rd-level black thunderbird he killed yesterday. So he took out the light gauze magic weapon and covered himself with it. I don't know if the black thunderbird just now found him. But Lin Changqing is really unlucky. He happened to go to Jilai Mountain and needed to pass through that cliff area. Based on the fact that the black thunderbird has been circling there, he deduced that the black thunderbird may really have built its nest on the cliff. No wonder he didn't encounter any decent monsters along the way. It is probably because they know that this is the territory of the black thunderbird, and those monsters either left on their own initiative or were eaten as prey. But this time, Lin Changqing was in trouble, because if he took a detour, he might waste 1 or 2 days. This result was not what he wanted, so he decided to go near the cliff to observe. If the black thunderbird left to forage within 2 or 3 hours, he would hurry to pass through that area. If it still didn't leave, Lin Changqing would not take any risks and was ready to take a detour. Fortunately, he still had the light gauze magic weapon, plus the cover of the surrounding woods. It should not be easily discovered. So he began to touch it carefully, and it took him half an hour to cover a distance of 7 or 8 miles. Finally, he successfully hid in a big tree, in the dense bushes, and observed the situation of the black thunderbird in the sky through the dense leaves. Now that the two sides are so close, Lin Changqing can confirm that this is a 3rd-level black thunderbird. And its size is bigger than the one yesterday, and it feels much more powerful than yesterday. But now that he has used the light gauze magic weapon to touch it so close, Lin Changqing is considering whether to take the risk to give it a hard blow. Just like yesterday, but when he was hesitant, the 3rd-level black thunderbird actually left the sky above the cliff. It suddenly flew in one direction and flew farther and farther. Lin Changqing waited for about a quarter of an hour to make sure it would not come back suddenly. So he immediately flew over with his sword, but when he passed the cliff, he suddenly had an idea. I don't know why, I suddenly wanted to go over and see if there was anything in the black thunderbird's nest, although he knew that he shouldn't make trouble. But he couldn't help his curiosity, so he immediately adjusted the direction slightly and flew around the area. Soon he saw a huge bird's nest built in the cliff, and flew over immediately. He immediately heard several chirping birds, and Lin Changqing went in to take a look. In the center of the bird's nest, there appeared 3 palm-sized, smooth, pink, and hairless birds. The eyes of these little guys haven't opened yet, but they may feel that there is a strange breath approaching, so they lean on each other tightly, and chirped in the direction of Lin Changqing, as if trying to drive him away, and this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that Lin Changqing actually saw a black and blue halo that had not appeared for a long time, appearing on one of the young birds. At this time, there was no need to hesitate. Lin Changqing immediately went over to pick up the young bird, and then immediately put it into the spirit beast bracelet. By the way, He also plucked a bunch of feathers from some unknown monster in the bird's nest, hastily made a small nest, and put it in. Lin Changqing had personally experienced the power of this black-feathered black thunderbird, and in addition, the Jade Slips and the Tingfang Pavilion also praised it. Moreover, a second-level Great Perfection Black Thunderbird almost killed Chuai in one blow yesterday. You know, Chuai has undergone a mutation. So it is hard for Lin Changqing not to like this powerful spirit pet. In addition, he has no reason to let go of this young bird with even more terrifying potential that he has discovered now. Besides, if you don't take what God gives you, you will suffer the consequences. He couldn't let himself get hurt. So he immediately took the young bird away. And Lin Changqing didn't do it to the extreme, and left 2 intact young birds in the bird's nest. Lest a mother bird find out that all the children are gone and go completely crazy. After doing all this, he didn't dare to stay here, lest a mother bird suddenly come back and block him. So Lin Changqing began to fly his sword wildly, just to get away from here. Sure enough, about a quarter of an hour later, he suddenly heard a sharp bird cry, and he could hear a strong anger from this sound. At this time, he didn't dare to stay in the air any longer, and immediately suppressed the sword light and landed directly in the woods. And for safety reasons, he took out the light sand magic weapon again and covered himself. But he didn't dare to stay where he was, for fear that he would be stared at by the mother bird when he landed just now. So he carefully groped forward for a distance, and then he began to hear thunder. Boom, boom, boom. This kind of thunder sound continued for more than an hour. Chapter 602, Ugly. The monsters and monks around are definitely in trouble now. As long as they are exposed under the eyes of the mother bird, they will probably be blasted into pieces by the Rinchu divine thunder. He is very lucky now. Fortunately, he left early. If he had to face this angry mother bird, he would probably be very uncomfortable. After all, if you want to take someone else's child as a spiritual pet, you certainly can't kill the mother bird. Anyway, Lin Changqing can't do such a thing. If you are really blocked, it will be difficult to just get beaten without fighting back. Fortunately, this worst situation did not happen. The mother bird tossed for more than an hour, and after venting her anger, she finally went back. During this period of time, the nearest Rinchu divine thunder was estimated to be only a few hundred feet away from Lin Changqing. Fortunately, it is finally over now. The mother bird did not find the real bird thief, and Lin Changqing can continue on his way. But in order to prevent a mother bird from suddenly killing a sneak attack, he continued to cover the light gauze magic weapon. After the mother bird made such a fuss, all the monsters that could run away ran away. He did not encounter any decent monsters within the range of 200 or 300 miles. But it was good this way, and it was convenient for Lin Changqing to hurry on his way. He was very excited now and wished that time would pass quickly. He had decided to sign a contract with this young black thunderbird with great potential when he camped and rested at night. He felt that the timing was just right. After all, the young bird had not opened its eyes yet. After he succeeded in the contract, he would train it from a young age, and it would definitely be Lin Changqing's most loyal pet in the future. The following time was relatively smooth. It was only in the evening that they encountered a pair of second-stage late-stage sharp-claw golden feathered eagles. When they saw Lin Changqing, they thought he was prey, but unfortunately they hid a wall this time. Lin Changqing took care of them in a few moves, and he rewarded each sharp-claw golden feathered eagle with a Jiufeng divine thunder. After shooting them down, the rest was left to the purple crystal scorpion. Lin Changqing just went over to collect the spoils after hearing the screams. There was nothing else, just 2 demon pills of the sharp-claw golden feathered eagle, which he planned to leave for Chuai in the future, believing that they would be of great help to it. When it was completely dark, he could not wait to find a suitable place to camp. After arranging and activating the magic circle, Lin Changqing immediately got the young bird out. However, as soon as the little guy came out, he did not smell the familiar smell and began to cry. Especially the smell of Lin Changqing. It was unfamiliar to it, and it had not eaten for a whole day, so it must be very hungry, so it cried even more desperately. Fortunately, Chuai was raised by him since he was a child, and he was quite experienced in taking care of such a little guy. So he first fed it with some red yang jujube juice, and knowing that it was a meat eater, he deliberately went around nearby for a long time. He found a first-level snake monster and tore off its meat bit by bit to feed the little black thunderbird. Now it is too small, and Lin Changqing is worried that it will have difficulty digesting the second-level monster meat. That's why he went to find this first-level demon snake and gave it dinner. The little guy is not big, but he eats a lot. Lin Changqing probably fed it half a demon snake before it was full. It stopped calling out lazily, otherwise it would have been like a starving ghost, chirping at him all the time. Perhaps because it was fed meat, it felt that it was no longer afraid now that it was in Lin Changqing's hand. So Lin Changqing decided to strike while the iron was hot, so he directly recited the contract spell. After it was completed, he dripped a drop of blood essence containing Lin Changqing's magic power onto the forehead of the little black thunderbird. It was so small and didn't have much of its own consciousness, so it couldn't refuse Lin Changqing's contract at all. So the whole process was very smooth, and the contract was successful in an instant. This time it was different. It suddenly felt that Lin Changqing became very kind. Maybe it felt safe, so it fell asleep quickly. Looking at this little guy sleeping in the palm of his hand, Lin Changqing decided to give it a name. Otherwise, it would be inconvenient to call it by that name. It should have been born not long ago, and it doesn't have much hair on its body, which makes it look a bit ugly. So I decided to call it Chaochu from now on. In fact, the black-feathered black thunderbird is not ugly. On the contrary, most of its body is black, which makes it look a bit domineering and majestic. However, who made it so ugly when it was young? Anyway, he thinks that the name Chaochu is much better than calling it Zaya Ohei. Besides, it is easier to keep a bird with a splash name, so it is settled, and I will call it Chaochu from now on. Then Lin Changqing released Chuer again. This secret space is too dangerous. He didn't dare to release Chuer again this time to help with a warning. So Lin Changqing communicated with Chuer through the contract, and he planned to put Chaochu and it in the same space. He asked it to help take care of Chaochu during this period of time, and Chuer quickly agreed. So Lin Changqing put them all into the spirit beast bracelet, and moved Chaochu's nest over. After dealing with this little guy, what was left was the spoils of the two robbers today. Today, a total of 5 storage cards were found on them. Lin Changqing sacrificed them one by one, and then dumped all the things on the ground. He spent some time to sort out the things. Sure enough, those who dared to stay and break into the high-level secret realm were all powerful monks. With strong strength, there would naturally be no shortage of spiritual objects in the storage bag. This time, he found more than 500,000 spiritual stones alone, including 1,000 medium-grade spiritual stones. There were also many spiritual tools. There were a total of 23 offensive and defensive spiritual tools. Lin Changqing selected the best 4 defensive spiritual tools. After preparing to sacrifice and refine them, he kept them for his own use. The remaining spiritual tools were put together with those he had harvested before. Lin Changqing also found dozens of first and second level spiritual talismans, which seemed to be prepared for use in the arena, but unfortunately they did not use them. The rest were some second level spiritual materials, but they were scattered and I didn't know when they were accumulated. Anyway, Lin Changqing found a storage bag specifically to put the valuable things in. Ready to find a market to deal with them together when the time comes. The remaining clothes, sundries, and other things that Lin Changqing thought were useless were all put into a storage bag, and he dug a hole and buried them. After everything was done, Lin Changqing checked Chuai's recovery again. He found that it had woken up at some point, but it was very weak now. Chapter 603, The Hateful Dead Monkey. Chuai weakly called out to Lin Changqing, and then there was no movement. So Lin Changqing fed it the rejuvenation pill again, and also got a lot of third-level monster meat to feed it. Chuai had been with him for so long, and he was also a bird that knew what was good. He knew that this was a rare good thing, and immediately began to gobble it up. After finishing dozens of kilograms of third-level monster meat, he was satisfied and was sent back to the Spirit Beast bracelet by Lin Changqing to continue recuperating. Now that Chuai has woken up, Lin Changqing's heart is relieved. No matter what, it's good to wake up, and he will recover slowly in the future. However, his own injuries have not healed yet. He also took a rejuvenation pill, but he still can't practice the Thunder Sutra for the time being. So he can only pick up the information jade slip he bought in Tingfang Pavilion and read it carefully. The main purpose is to know which places he will pass through this time, and try to have a clear idea of it, so that he can quickly get to Jilai Mountain. In fact, he was not afraid that others would get there first, because Zhao Hongyun said that the one guarding the Thunder Fruit Tree was a third-level three-eyed Thunder Ape clan. The most likely possibility is that the entire Jilai Mountain is the territory of the three-eyed Thunder Ape clan, so there should be quite a few three-eyed thunder apes living there. Therefore, it is absolutely impossible for one or two people who arrived first to get there first. Lin Changqing speculated that if he wanted to pick the thunder fruit, it would take many cultivators to work together to have some chance of success. However, Lin Changqing wanted to get there so early. It was because he had the light gauze magic weapon in his hand that he wanted to see if he had a chance to secretly get the thunder fruit. However, this was just his wishful thinking. The monster guarding the thunder fruit was called the three-eyed thunder ape. As the name suggests, their eyes are probably powerful and may even have some pupil skills. I just don't know if they can see through my light gauze magic weapon. After looking for more than an hour, he looked through the places he might pass on the road and the information about the monsters he might encounter. After knowing what to do, he went to bed early. However, his luck was not good tonight. In the middle of the night, there was a group of fire monkeys. They found Lin Changqing's campsite. Because he might encounter a third-level monster, he did not release the purple crystal scorpion to keep watch for him. He just didn't want to make too much noise and cause unnecessary trouble. He only arranged a second-level Ianga Inaxi formation. Now, for some reason, these fire monkeys broke in here. They also touched the formation, but they couldn't get in. Maybe they felt very curious, so 20 or 30 fire monkeys came at once. Lin Changqing didn't want to pay attention to them, but he didn't expect them to gather more and more. Now there are 20 or 30 fire monkeys, and they are so close to each other, which is a big threat to him. And these fire monkeys, except for a demon pill, have little value in other parts of their bodies. So when Lin Changqing met them 2 days ago, he didn't want to provoke them. Unexpectedly, this time his luck was so bad that they actually ran to their lair. In fact, he could still deal with the dozens of fire monkeys gathered outside. He only needed to release dozens of second-level shocking cicadas to deal with them all. But he was afraid that with such a large number of them, a third-level fire monkey would be born, which would be troublesome. Because this was very likely. The third-level fire monkey was mentioned in the information jade slip he had just read. This kind of demon monkey that can use the fire escape technique is really powerful. With the blessing of the fire escape technique, it suddenly became elusive. Moreover, its ability in long range and close combat is not weak. It is better not to provoke it if you can. So he thought about it and decided that as long as the fire monkeys did not attack the magic circle, he would not kill them, so as not to provoke the third-level fire monkeys. Let them play there for a while, maybe they will leave naturally when they are bored. Fortunately, Lin Changqing's luck was not too bad. Those monkeys were outside his camp for more than 3 hours. When it was almost dawn, most of the monkeys finally left, and only 5 or 6 were still playing nearby. With them around, Lin Changqing couldn't rest assured. Seeing that the opportunity was rare, he immediately packed up his things and finally pulled out the array plate. Then he controlled the flying sword and flew into the sky and ran away. Of course, there were also quick-reacting fire monkeys. They attacked him, but Lin Changqing cleverly avoided the fire cones of 2s and 3s. In the woods below, it didn't take long for the whole place to boil. There were at least 100 or 200 fire monkeys chasing Lin Changqing below. But he had experience in this. He ignored them and immediately started to speed up, intending to get rid of them like last time. But things didn't go as planned. Suddenly, a flame exploded not far behind Lin Changqing. Then a fire monkey as tall as a person suddenly emerged from the flames and used a series of fire cones on Lin Changqing. This happened suddenly, and the two sides were only a few dozen feet apart. Fortunately, for safety, he had been wearing a triple shield. In addition, his spiritual sense and constant attention to the surrounding situation gave him some time to react. When he found the big monkey suddenly appeared behind him, he knew that something was wrong, so he activated several layers of defense shields without hesitation. Then there was a series of bombardment, boom, boom, boom. It broke his defense shield of at least 7 layers at once, and because of the huge impact force, it also knocked him off the flying sword, and he almost fell to death. Fortunately, he still had the wind and thunder wings, and activated the thunder escape technique instantly. He escaped the fate of falling to death, and Lin Changqing had not adjusted yet, and the dead monkey appeared not far from him. Then there was a series of fire cone techniques against him, but fortunately he was using the thunder escape technique now, which was more flexible and changeable. So this time he didn't take it all, only 2 fire cone techniques hit him, but they were blocked by his defense shield. At this time, Lin Changqing finally adjusted himself, knowing that if he was entangled by it like this, he would be in danger. However, he didn't have a good way to deal with this elusive third-level fire monkey. But if he couldn't deal with a third-level dead monkey, it would be much easier to deal with a second-level one. And he also wanted to use the strategy of encircling Wei to save Zhao to see if he could make this damn monkey afraid to act rashly. So he thought about it, and then purple light continued to fly out from his wrist. Chapter 604, suffered a little loss. Lin Changqing released all the amethyst scorpions, and the target was the group of second-level fire monkeys below. However, Lin Changqing did not order them to kill. They stopped attacking after the purple light rays hit them once. So although the fire monkeys screamed shrilly below, no one was actually killed. Sure enough, this method was very effective. The third-level dead monkey gave up chasing Lin Changqing and turned to deal with the amethyst scorpions below. However, the amethyst scorpions were small in size and flew very fast, so it was basically a cannon hitting a mosquito, and the dead monkeys did not achieve much effect. Moreover, Lin Changqing also ordered them not to slow down, let alone stay in one place, so although the fight below was very lively, but the amethyst scorpions were actually not damaged. Even if some were affected by the fire cone technique and the flames that exploded, they flew up again after a while after being blown away. So very quickly, about 60 breaths, except for the third-level dead monkey, all the other fire monkeys had fallen down. At this time, Lin Changqing had already flown 8 or 9 miles away and began to recall the purple crystal scorpions. The third-level demon monkey saw the purple crystal scorpions leave, and did not dare to chase them. Because it sensed that its monkeys and descendants were still alive, it did not dare to provoke Lin Changqing again. Just guarding around the monkey group, protecting these monkeys and descendants who temporarily lost their ability to move. On Lin Changqing's side, after reuniting with the purple crystal scorpion, he quickly accelerated and left. He was worried that the dead monkey would come up and entangle again. After flying another 300 miles, Lin Changqing was completely relieved. At this distance, the dead monkey did not catch up, so it should be fine. Only then did he land and find a place to rest, and then check all the purple crystal scorpions one by one. It was found that most of the purple crystal scorpions had no problems, only a few. There were some damage on the shell. But the problem is not big. Chew a little spirit crystal, and then reward these injured purple crystal scorpions, each with a red fruit. I believe that after a period of recuperation, they will all recover. His amethyst scorpion is still powerful, with strong attack power and even stronger defense. If it had been replaced by the god-shocking cicada just now, it is estimated that at least half of them would be killed or injured, or even the whole army might be wiped out. After all, the flying speed of the god-shocking cicada is average, but its defense ability is obviously not good. When it encounters the fire cone technique of the third-level dead monkey, it is almost one at a time. He fed some rejuvenation pills to all the injured amethyst scorpions, and then put them back into the spirit beast bracelet. By the way, he looked at Chui's situation, which was obviously better than yesterday, so Lin Changqing was relieved. After finishing all this, he continued to set off. This incident reminded Lin Changqing. This secret realm is too dangerous. Next time when choosing a camping site, you still have to let the amethyst scorpion scout around. Don't make the same mistake as last night again. This time Lin Changqing was lucky and only encountered a third-level dead monkey. If he was unlucky and encountered more than 2 third-level monsters, he probably wouldn't be able to get away. In this way, Lin Changqing encountered many things in the secret realm, but generally speaking, he could still cope with it. 6 or 7 days passed, and he encountered several dangers during these days. They were all because of encountering third-level monsters. Fortunately, there was only one time when he encountered 2 third-level monsters together. It was a pair of third-level shadowless leopards. The stealth ability of this monster was very abnormal, and they were also good at shadow escape. However, fortunately, when Lin Changqing encountered them, it was during the day, and the distance between them was relatively far. Their shadow escape at this time was greatly weakened by the sunlight, which allowed Lin Changqing to seize the opportunity to rush out. In addition, he also encountered several waves of monks in the past few days, but only one, a team of 3, chose to attack Lin Changqing. The final result was that the things on them became Lin Changqing's trophies, and their bodies turned into ashes and scattered in the woods. In this way, Lin Changqing experienced several dangers and finally came to the vicinity of Jili Mountain, but after arriving here, he did not approach rashly. because he knew that at this time, there must be more or less cultivators watching around. Moreover, Jiufeng mountain itself covers a very wide area, and the entire mountain is very high, estimated to be at least 4 or 5,000 feet high. And even at the foot of the mountain, you can hear the boom, boom, thunder coming from the mountain. In the information jade slips of Tingfang Pavilion, there are some speculations about Jiufeng mountain. They estimate that there should be a spiritual mine with the golden properties on Jiufeng mountain, and it is very likely to be refined iron ore, probably above the halfway point of the mountain. Because the lightning here only occurs above the halfway point of the mountain. So Lin Changqing can see very intuitively at the foot of the mountain that the trees below the halfway point are very lush and green. And above the halfway point, there are all irregular black tree trunks, which are obviously the tree trunks left after being struck by lightning and burned. This kind of terrain is so obvious that anyone with a discerning eye can definitely guess that this is Jiufeng mountain. As for the famous three-eyed thunder ape, Lin Changqing didn't see it. He probably had to go to the mountain to see it. Lin Changqing thought about it, and then spent some time to find a relatively hidden place. Then he set up the 2 array plates in his hand and activated them all. At this time, the sky was almost dark. Lin Changqing covered himself with a light gauze magic weapon and began to touch the mountain. He was ready to take advantage of the cover of the sky to try his luck on the mountain. However, when approaching Jiufeng mountain, Lin Changqing keenly observed that there seemed to be traces of arrays in 2 places. But he didn't make any trouble. Now he was covered by the light gauze magic weapon and others couldn't see him, so there was no need to do anything unnecessary. He just kept the 2 suspicious places in mind and ignored them. It took Lin Changqing about an hour to finally touch the foot of Jiufeng mountain. He had to be more careful when he got here, because there's a possibility of encountering a 3-eyed thunder ape here at any time. As expected. After only walking about 300 feet up the mountain, he began to hear the unique sounds of ape-like monsters. Lin Changqing carefully walked over and saw 5 or 6 second-level 3-eyed thunder monkeys, who were taking care of a dozen little monkeys. The sounds were made by these little guys. Chapter 605, A Lucky Success. He looked carefully and found that those who were responsible for taking care of them were all female apes. It seemed that they were responsible for taking care of the children. Lin Changqing looked at these 3-eyed thunder apes and found that their body size was not too exaggerated. The second-level ones were probably about the same height as normal people. But their limbs were very strong and powerful, and their muscles looked bulging. There were 4 fangs on their mouths that were staggered up and down, which made them look a bit fierce. And it is certain that the 3-eyed thunder ape's ability to fight in close combat must be very powerful. But the most eye-catching thing is that they have an extra eye in the center of their foreheads compared to other ape monsters. This eye, combined with their appearance, still looks very fierce and powerful, but I don't know the specific function of this eye, and it is not mentioned in the information. And the hair on their bodies is all golden yellow, which matches the information. Because in the introduction of Tingfang Pavilion, it is said that the 3-eyed thunder ape is a social monster with earth, thunder and dual attributes. The means they often use is the Wu Earth Divine Thunder, and the 3rd-level 3-eyed thunder apes can use the thunder escape technique, so their strength is very strong. Coupled with their own numerical advantage, it can be said that they are really the largest force in the thunder extreme secret realm. Lin Changqing did not dare to alarm them. He took a detour and continued to move up the mountain. At this height, he could encounter scattered 3-eyed thunder apes one after another. He tried his best to avoid them, and there was a good news that Lin Changqing had now confirmed one thing. That is, the 2nd-level 3-eyed thunder apes should not be able to see through the invisibility effect of his light gauze magic weapon. But now he has not encountered the 3rd-level thunder apes, so he doesn't know if they can't see through it either. However, his movements and speed have indeed increased a bit, and he has been walking up about 1,000 feet. At least he has encountered more than 200 3-eyed thunder apes, and now Lin Changqing is starting to worry a little. If he fails here, he will be besieged by so many 3-eyed thunder apes, and he will probably die. After going up again and touching another 500 feet, Lin Changqing dared not move any more. At this point, he only needed to go forward for about 500 feet. He would officially enter the thunder falling area on the hillside, but the problem was that when he got here, he could already feel that the ground was vibrating slightly, and it was very rhythmic. Lin Changqing immediately judged that there should be huge creatures walking nearby, and it felt like they were patrolling, and there were not 1, but 2. But in this place, the only creatures that could be called huge were the third level three-eyed thunder apes. Although Lin Changqing had not seen them in person, he estimated that their size should not be too small, and they should be nearby, within a few hundred feet. Therefore, he was afraid of attracting the attention of the third level thunder ape, so he stuck tightly to the trunk of a big tree, motionless, and did not dare to scan around with his consciousness. He stayed there for almost half an hour, and fortunately, in the end, the two third-level thunder apes left the area. At this time, Lin Changqing realized that his palms were actually sweating a lot. Okay, now we can move forward again. It took him more than an hour to carefully pass the last 500 feet. He successfully entered the upper part of Jiufeng Mountain, which is the area where the thunder fell. But at this place, he was safer, because although the three-eyed thunder ape was a thunder attribute monster, it did not like to be hit directly by thunder. In that case, they would be injured or even die, so they did not like to stay in this area. Therefore, as long as he was not directly hit by the thunder here, he would be safe for the time being. According to the physics common sense he had learned before, he did not dare to move in an open area, and he used the remaining tree trunks that were struck by thunder and burned as cover. He slowly moved towards the top of the mountain. Along the way, at least 30 or 40 thunders struck the tree trunks that were covering Lin Changqing. Although Lin Changqing was not hit directly, he was also affected a lot. Fortunately, the aftermath hit his body, which was about the same as the pain he endured when practicing the Thunder Sutra. Therefore, he could still bear it, and he found that the closer he was to the top of the mountain, the denser the thunder, and the higher the probability of being hit by thunder. So when he reached the top of the mountain and saw the 3 fruit trees, he had already endured the aftermath of thunder more than 200 times. Even at the end, in order to lower the height, he was already crawling forward, and in the end there was no tree trunk to cover him. He relied on the 5 elements thunder umbrella and many thunder attribute defensive spiritual tools to finally get close to the top of the mountain. Fortunately, here, there is already a considerable distance from the bottom, plus the night and the cover of thunder in the sky. The fluctuations caused by the use of thunder attribute spiritual tools can also be easily covered up. Fortunately, although these thunders are powerful, they are only thunders produced by nature. They are not the kind of thunder produced by thunder tribulations, otherwise Lin Changqing would have turned into ashes long ago after suffering so much. But now he is not much better. After enduring so much lightning damage, his muscles are already in pain. If he hadn't been accustomed to this kind of pain, he would have cried out long ago. Fortunately, he finally found the place. The divine sense carefully scanned the 3 spiritual fruit plants and found that they were distributed in a triangular shape, about 10 feet apart, and all about 10 feet high. The fruit trees were all black, with bare branches and no leaves, but on each fruit tree, there were 12 black and purple fruits hanging, and they were of different sizes. He used his divine sense to scan them carefully to identify them. He found that only 3 fruits on each fruit tree were ripe, and these ripe thunder extreme fruits were easy to identify. Because as long as the thunder extreme fruit is ripe, there are complete textures similar to thunder runes on it. Then use the size of the fruit to assist in judgment, so it is still very clear. At least Lin Changqing believes that he will not make a mistake. It seems that he came too early. It is estimated that if he waits until the end of the secret realm, these thunder extreme fruits will all mature, but he can't wait until then. And when that time comes, I don't know how many monks will come to compete for it. And it's not so easy to get things away from under the noses of so many monks. It is estimated that by then, blood will flow like a river. So he happily accepted these 9 ripe lychee fruits. Chapter 606, Right Eye Twitches Again. And with these gains, he didn't plan to lie in this muddy water again. He took out a suitable jade box, and withstood more than a dozen thunder attacks, and successfully picked 9 mature thunder fruits. Now that the things are in hand, there is nothing to miss here. It's not that he doesn't know to dig a section of the rhizome of the thunder fruit tree back, but the inner space is not available now, and the rhizome is useless. Besides, if it is planted in the inner space, but there is no thunder there, it is estimated that thunder fruits will not grow, so he gave up. Moreover, the thunder here is still very powerful. Now he is injured and dare not stay here for too long. However, in line with the principle of taking more advantage, when Lin Changqing left, he still cut 3 3-foot-long and teacup-thick side trunks at the end of the thunder fruit tree. These small trunks have been tempered by thunder for many years and have become a very precious thunder attribute material. Moreover, the grade of the fruit tree itself is also there, so these things are all precious third-grade top-grade thunder attribute materials. Taking advantage of the fact that there is no one else here now, he dared to secretly take some down. In fact, it is no big deal. As long as it does not damage the main trunk of the fruit tree and does not affect the future fruiting, it will be fine. If there were someone else, Lin Changqing would not dare to do this. If he was seen by others and leaked, he would be in trouble. After all, this secret realm is controlled by the Wandao sect, and these things are equivalent to the property of the Wandao sect. If they knew that Lin Changqing was sabotaging, they would definitely not let him go. And according to his observation, these thunder attribute materials that were taken down are very special, and they have been baptized by thunder since childhood. So they are very precious and special. Even if they are not trained into spiritual tools or magic weapons, they can be used directly, just like the thunder spirit pearl. But their grade is very high, so it is still very easy for them to suppress a little thunder magic power. With these unexpected gains, he is already very satisfied. He dare not touch the remaining materials, lest he get too much and really affect the fruit trees in the future. So Lin Changqing packed all his things properly and left the top of the mountain. He felt better when he returned to the minefield covered by tree trunks. He took 2 rejuvenation pills and rested for a while before slowly returning. With the cover of night and thunder, he finally returned to the lower part of Jiufeng Mountain. Here, he had to be more careful, but these 3-eyed thunder apes also needed to rest at night. So Lin Changqing still passed the territory of the 3-eyed thunder apes without any danger. It took him more than an hour to cover the distance of more than 2,500 feet. When he finally returned to his camp, it was almost dawn. He was injured and wanted to take a rest. Unexpectedly, at this time, his right eye, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly began to jump violently again. One by one, very regular and rhythmic, just like before. This situation scared Lin Changqing, because he knew that this was a hint from the innate merit true eye, and that a danger beyond his ability to deal with was about to happen. In this place, the one who might pose a fatal danger to him was the third-order thunder ape on Jiufeng Mountain. Could it be that because he had taken away the mature thunder fruit, the 3-eyed thunder apes would go crazy after discovering it? The more Lin Changqing thought about it, the more he felt that it made sense. In any case, he could not stay in this place any longer. So he immediately took action, recovered the 2 array plates he had arranged, and tried to erase the traces of his presence as much as possible. After confirming that there was nothing left that could track him, he did not dare to delay and immediately flew in the direction he came from yesterday. Why did he choose to retreat in this direction? Because he had walked this road once. He had a little impression of the general terrain and environment, so it was not easy to have problems. Moreover, he had already obtained 9 thunder fruits, which was considered to have exceeded the task, and there were still some left. He did not know anyone else in this place, so he did not plan to give up the extra thunder fruits. So Lin Changqing wanted to find a suitable place to stay, and then try the effect of the thunder fruit to see if it was really as magical as described in the information jade slip. And now he has a suitable place in his mind. When he passed a small valley, he saw dozens of caves. I don't know what left them, but Lin Changqing did rest for a night nearby. Although he has never entered the cave, the purple crystal scorpion has gone in to check, and there are no monsters in it. So Lin Changqing immediately thought of that small valley. When you get there, choose a suitable cave, and then set up a magic circle. It will be a good place for retreat and practice. Now he is heading towards that small valley, and he will be there in about a day and a half. However, he had just left the camp and flew for less than 3/4 of an hour when he heard angry ape roars coming from the direction of Jiufeng Mountain behind him. And the ape roars are getting more and more. It seems that the whole tribe has been alarmed. The most likely possibility is that the 3-eyed thunder apes have discovered that all the mature thunder fruits have been taken away, so they are so angry. Because they are also thunder-attributed monsters, the thunder fruit is also very important to them, and it can also help them advance. Now that they are so angry, it is estimated that the monks hiding at the foot of the mountain will be in big trouble. Last night, he went up and down the Jiufeng Mountain and confirmed that there were at least 8 or 9 third-level 3-eyed thunder apes on the mountain. Now if they all go out, plus hundreds of second-level thunder apes, the monks hiding under the Jiufeng Mountain will definitely be dead. Fortunately, he ran fast, otherwise even if he played all his cards, he probably wouldn't be able to escape. Although Jiufeng Mountain is now a little far away from him, and the ape roar was only faint when it came over. But he didn't dare to be careless, and immediately covered himself with a light gauze magic weapon, and didn't dare to continue flying in the air. He immediately landed in the woods and began to move from the ground to the direction of the small valley. However, Lin Changqing also miscalculated. Although he was invisible, he was moving at high speed in the woods, and still left some traces of his movement on the ground. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607, Gugu is healthier. After about 3/4 of an hour, he thought it was over and he should be fine, but at this moment, a thunderbolt suddenly hit Lin Changqing's head without any warning. And this thunderbolt weighed more than 1,000 pounds, knocking Lin Changqing down directly and falling heavily to the ground. Boom! At this time, the sound of thunder came. Fortunately, Lin Changqing still had 2 or 3 spiritual tools that could automatically form a protective shield. This blocked the sudden thunderbolt, otherwise he would be in great danger. But at this time, Lin Changqing's face was very ugly. This thunderbolt was powerful and heavy, and he was too familiar with it, and he had practiced it himself. This was the Wuxi Divine Thunderbolt. Since it was the Wuxi Divine Thunderbolt, it must be the three-eyed thunder ape that came to find him. He never thought that after running so far, the three-eyed thunder ape could still find him. Now I don't know whether this is accidental or inevitable, but no matter what, this battle is definitely unavoidable. Moreover, it was not his style to not fight back after being beaten. So after he stood up, he thought about it and immediately surrounded him with 3 thunder shields. He also activated 2 other shield-shaped top-grade defensive spiritual tools. Then he waved his hand and the thunder horn appeared in his hand, ready to lock the enemy, and immediately launched the Zhengjing Divine Thunder. The Zhengjing Divine Thunder inside was prepared in advance when he heard the ape roar and found that something was wrong. He didn't expect to really use it. At this time, Lin Changqing's consciousness discovered a huge 3-eyed thunder ape standing more than 300 feet away. It was looking at Lin Changqing in surprise, as if it didn't understand how the second-level creature in front of it could withstand the attack of the Wuxi Divine Thunder. This huge thunder ape was about 145 feet tall, and its muscles were bulging all over its body. It looked fierce and very oppressive. And this head was a third-level thunder ape at a glance. Fortunately, Lin Changqing's consciousness only found this one, which made him feel a little relieved. Then, with a thought, all the purple crystal scorpions flew out of the spirit beast bracelet, turning into purple light and heading towards the third-level thunder ape. Then, 3 Zhengjing Divine Thunders were fired. In fact, after saying so much, from the time of being attacked to the time of his counterattack, it only took 2 or 3 breaths of time. Boom, boom, boom. Obviously, the third-level thunder ape did not expect that Lin Changqing would use thunder magic to attack it, so it also did not react at all. After being hit 3 times, 3 groups of blood mist burst out of its body, and its whole body was immediately covered in blood, and it was also knocked down by the divine thunder. However, it is also a third-level, earth, thunder, and dual-element monster, with strong defense and high thunder resistance. So after being hit by these 3 Zhengjing Divine Thunders, although it was seriously injured, it was not fatal in a short period of time. Therefore, after roaring at Lin Changqing, he immediately wanted to escape by thunder. Unfortunately, the purple crystal scorpion did not agree, so dozens of purple rays crisscrossed, and the sound of hiss, hiss, continued to ring in the ears. Then a huge and shrill scream came out. And the sound was so loud that Lin Changqing was shocked, and conservatively estimated that the sound could be heard at least 40 or 50 miles away. He was worried that other 3-eyed thunder apes would be provoked. So he immediately rushed over, put the body of the 3-eyed thunder ape into the spirit beast bracelet, and then set off immediately. However, this time, Lin Changqing equipped the wind and thunder wings, and then used the thunder escape technique to travel in the woods. Although this is faster, it consumes more thunder mana, and he would definitely not do this normally. But this time the situation is special. He must leave here quickly, lest another 3-eyed thunder ape come to find him. Sure enough, using the thunder escape technique to travel is fast, and after he has consumed all the thunder mana in the acupoints, he had already moved at least 1,000 miles. If he continued at this speed, he should be able to reach his destination in the evening. And at this distance, Lin Changqing also believed that the three-eyed thunder ape would not chase him again, so he was really relieved this time. However, not long after he finished the thunder escape and switched to ordinary flying sword, he encountered trouble again. Originally, he thought that it would be fine after leaving the three-eyed thunder ape's territory so far, so he flew in the air. Unexpectedly, he met the black-feathered black thunderbird again, and it was far away, so it first gave Lin Changqing a Rinchu divine thunder. Fortunately, he had just experienced the sneak attack of the thunder ape, and he had been holding up several layers of shields, so he did not suffer too much damage. However, this divine thunder directly knocked him off the flying sword, and he almost fell to death. In the end, it was the wind and thunder wings that saved him again. There is nothing to say, he has encountered this kind of thing once. So after landing, he quickly grew up and found a place to hide himself with a light gauze magic weapon. And prepared the thunder horn. As long as the third-level black-feathered black thunderbird dared to approach, it would be rewarded with a few Genjin divine thunders. Fortunately, the black thunderbird was not smart, and could not find Lin Changqing's figure in the distance, so it really approached the place where he landed to check. The final result was that when it was 300 or 400 feet away from Lin Changqing, he was counterattacked by him. After enduring the attack of 3 Genjin divine thunders, he fell into the woods with serious injuries, and was then found and killed by the purple crystal scorpion. This time Lin Changqing was attacked again, which was really a double injury. If he was not a physical cultivator, he might not be able to withstand it. However, even so, he did not dare to stop the message and could not stay in this place for too long. Because the movement here was not small just now, he was afraid of attracting other monsters again, which would be troublesome. So he hastily cleaned up the body of the third-level black thunderbird, and then Lin Changqing continued to set off on his way. This secret realm is too dangerous. He decided that after reaching the destination, he would not leave there unless it was necessary. He would heal his wounds there, and spend the rest of the time in seclusion practicing until the secret trial was over. Fortunately, he was lucky and did not encounter any third-level monsters in the rest of the time. Moreover, Lin Changqing did not attack the second-level monsters he encountered. He did not want to provoke any third-level monsters in the end, so as long as it did not affect his journey, he would pretend that he did not see them. So finally, when it was completely dark, he arrived at a small valley. Chapter 608, A Crystallized Eye. The situation here is similar to when he left a few days ago. But for safety reasons, Lin Changqing still released the purple crystal scorpions and let them enter the cave to explore again. After confirming that there was no problem, he went in by himself and looked at more than a dozen caves. He found that many caves were connected to each other. This is good, and it will not be blocked by people. So he directly chose the deepest cave and found a suitable location inside as his retreat. He also arranged the 2 sets of magic arrays on his body and activated them directly. Then he sent all the purple crystal scorpions out and scattered them in the small valley, making them invisible and acting as guardians for him. After doing all this, he felt a little safe. It was true that he could encounter a third-level monster with just a casual move. Especially the third-level thunder monster. Every time it was far away, it would suddenly give him a divine thunder, and he was really a little scared. If it weren't for his caution and the many defensive spiritual weapons on his body, others would have died long ago. But Lin Changqing can't rest now. Because from last night to now, he was covered with the wounds, and the wounds were compounded. So he began to check his body and found that all his body was injured by lightning. He didn't expect that as a thunder cultivator, the most damage he received was actually thunder attribute damage. It was really speechless. Of course, this also proved the power of thunder from another perspective. The attack was fast and the lethality was strong. It really deserved to be the first killing method in the world of immortal cultivation. He took another rejuvenation pill and then circulated the skills to dissolve it. Only then did he feel a little better. Just like that, 5 days passed unknowingly. These days, Lin Changqing has been healing with all his strength. Thanks to the strong recovery ability of physical cultivation, he has finally recovered completely today. Chui's condition has also improved a lot. As expected of a spirit beast, it has a strong recovery ability. The recovery is better than Lin Changqing predicted at the time. Now some new flesh has grown on its wounds, but the injury this time is indeed more serious and it still needs time to recover slowly. Today is the 16th day since Lin Changqing entered the secret realm, so he still has about 2.5 months to practice. However, before he officially starts practicing, He still has one thing to do, which is to deal with the bodies of the three-eyed thunder ape and the black-feathered black thunderbird. So he released them from the spirit beast bracelet, but unfortunately, after so many days, their blood had already coagulated. At that time, because of the tight time, their blood was not collected first, which was equivalent to wasting a lot of spirit stones in vain. Not to mention the treatment of the black-feathered black thunderbird, it was still the same as before, taking the inner elixir and plucking the feathers, and the remaining skeleton and monster meat were also kept to feed the spirit insects and spirit beasts. The most important thing is the three-eyed thunder ape. You must know that Lin Changqing was wearing a light gauze magic weapon on his body and was traveling in the woods after being invisible. Although he would leave some traces around him when he passed by. But the three-eyed thunder ape was able to accurately determine his position, and after locking on, it gave him a Wuxi divine thunder. So Lin Changqing suspected that it was the third eye of the three-eyed thunder ape that saw through his invisibility. Of course, this was just his own guess, so he planned to take out the third eye of the three-eyed thunder ape and check it out. To see if this eye was also a spiritual material, Lin Changqing immediately took action and took out its inner elixir first. The fur on the thunder ape was riddled with holes by the purple crystal scorpion, so it was not very useful. Finally, there were 4 1.5-foot-long fangs growing in its mouth. This thing was obviously a third-level spiritual material. It could be used to refine a set of third-level flying sword magic weapons. Lin Changqing put them away separately in a jade box and prepared to deal with them later when he had the chance. After finishing all these, only the eyes were left. However, in order not to damage the eyes, he chose to break the entire skull. Then he took out all 3 eyes. 2 of them were very ordinary and had no use at all. The other eye was slightly larger than the other 2, and the entire eye had completely crystallized. This crystallized eye is about half the size of a fist, and the whole thing is spherical. Inside the sphere, there is a firm pupil. Although this eye has now become a spiritual material, when looking at it, there is still a very sharp feeling, and it sees through it. Seeing this situation, Lin Changqing was overjoyed. He was right. It's just that he doesn't know its specific function yet. But it doesn't matter. There will always be a chance to know. If it doesn't work, wait until you enter Xianshu sect in the future. You can also find a chance to ask a high-level refiner. Someone must know the function of this thing. After playing with it for a while, he also found a jade box and put it away. Now Lin Changqing already has 3 inner pills of third-level monsters in his hand, as well as several third-level refinery materials. He has put these things in the spirit beast bracelet and kept them properly. Next, Lin Changqing took out another jade box. When he opened it, there were 9 black and purple lychee fruits with thunder runes inside. This was what Lin Changqing finally got after risking his life. He picked up each one and carefully sensed it. He found that there was no way to sense whether there was a fruit core inside. If he guessed correctly, it should be blocked by the layer of thunder runes outside. As a second-level spiritual plant master, he originally wanted to sense it. If he could sense the fruit core inside, he would keep the well-developed and likely to germinate and survive thunder extreme fruit for his own use. There was no other way. Now he could only try to pick the big ones. He selected 3 of the smallest thunder extreme fruits and found a suitable jade box to pack them up. These 3 were to be taken out and handed over to the Wandao sect. Only with them could he get a place to enter the Xianshu sect. Of the remaining 6, he kept 1 at random, and the other 5 were also packed in a jade box and put away. In fact, it was mainly because Lin Changqing was very curious about the effect of this thunder extreme thunder. Anyway, he still had several in his hand, so he wanted to try it himself. After all, he was also a physical cultivator and wanted to experience the feeling of rapid growth in strength. Moreover, this thing is a spiritual fruit with thunder attribute, so Lin Changqing always feels that this thing is very suitable for him. Chapter 609 Preparing for a Breakthrough. So no matter what, he had to try the effect. However, he had the experience of almost killing himself by taking the third-level Earth Soul fruit before, and he still remembered the situation at that time. Bluetooth. Therefore, Lin Changqing did not dare to be careless this time, so as not to repeat the same mistake. So he first roughly weighed in his mind and estimated the amount he could bear. After getting the result, he cut off a quarter of the thunder extreme fruit and swallowed it. The taste of the fruit was sour and sweet, and the taste was still very good, much better than the 100-year-old red fruit. However, After the spirit fruit was eaten, it immediately turned into violent and hot thunder attribute energy, which dissipated to the whole body. Then this thunder attribute energy traveled along the meridians of the whole body again, but unfortunately when it was about to complete the circulation of the whole body meridians, the energy was completely exhausted. However, although this energy was violent and hot, it did not cause any harm to his body. On the contrary, the meridians through which the energy passed seemed to be strengthened, and the ductility and toughness were greatly improved. Seeing that there was no danger, Lin Changqing simply ate the remaining 3/4 of the thunder fruit. However, this operation was a pitfall for him. A violent energy of thunder attribute that was 4 or 5 times larger than before suddenly appeared in his body and almost made him burst, so he could only desperately guide it and let it circulate in the meridians of his body. However, after circulating 3 times, although the meridians of his body were also strengthened 3 times, he had a feeling that the meridians could not be strengthened in a short period of time, otherwise it might be counterproductive and cause irreversible damage to the meridians. However, there was still more than half of the energy left, and he didn't know what to do. Lin Changqing was not around, and no one helped him share this excess energy. But fortunately, he suddenly had an idea and guided this energy to the acupoint that was being opened. Unexpectedly, it was very easy. This energy only went around in the acupoint once and completed the opening of the thunder acupoint. Lin Changqing was overjoyed, and tried to guide this energy to expand the newly opened thunder acupoint. Unexpectedly, it also succeeded. So after he split this thunder acupoint to the standard size, he guided this energy to continue to open thunder acupoints for himself. When this energy was completely consumed, it had helped Lin Changqing open 6 complete standard thunder acupoints. By now, Lin Changqing already had 106 thunder acupoints, which made him ecstatic. But he quickly restrained his emotions, because things were not over yet, and there was still one thing to do. He found the thunder spirit pearls that had been replaced before, and immediately sent these 6 thunder spirit pearls that had been sacrificed before. Through the secret technique of receiving treasures, they were sent to the 6 newly opened thunder acupoints. With a suppression object, the thunder magic power in the acupoints would not rebel, and this was considered to be the completion of all the work. At this time, Lin Changqing breathed a sigh of relief and began to check his body. I don't know about other things, but I almost exploded just now, and that energy also strengthened my body. So now his whole body from head to toe is covered with a thin layer of blood scabs, and he has already felt that he has hundreds of small wounds all over his body. It should be caused by this violent thunder energy. Fortunately, he is smart, plus a little bit of luck, otherwise he will really repeat the same mistake. Fortunately, he is a physical cultivator, with thick skin and strong recovery ability. It should take at most 1 or 2 days to fully recover. And the most obvious thing is that he feels that his body's strength has become much stronger. It feels like he can easily beat the 3rd level 3-eyed thunder ape into a meat pie. Of course, Lin Changqing knows that this is just an illusion caused by the imperfect control of strength after the sudden increase in strength. In fact, he didn't feel that powerful. It is estimated that at most, it has increased by tens of thousands of pounds. But how much has increased? We need to find an opportunity to test it. He manually removed all the blood scabs on his body, took another rejuvenation pill, and then went outside to give himself a bath with a spirit rain technique. This was also a way to calm himself down. Then he went to a relatively open place in the small valley. After practicing the stick technique dozens or hundreds of times, he was able to adapt to the sudden surge of strength. Finally, he patrolled around the small valley and found no problems. Lin Changqing returned to the magic circle in the cave. Now the situation is like this, but there is a very important problem in front of him. That is, he has now opened up 106 thunder acupoints, and there are only 2 acupoints left to reach the limit of the foundation building period of the Thunder Sutra. Now the question is whether he should take this opportunity to break through this limit in this thunder secret realm with the help of the thunder fruit. After thinking about it, he finally decided to take advantage of this opportunity to break through here. Otherwise, if he joins Xianshu sect in the future and breaks through again, it will be more or less troublesome. It is better to break through here, which is equivalent to adding a trump card to himself. After all, if nothing unexpected happens, he will definitely be able to join Xianshu sect, but the sect must not be simple, so it is also good to increase some strength. But the breakthrough is not now. He plans to heal all the injuries on his body first, and then gather strength to break through again. Thinking about it now, he is still a little excited. After all, if he really breaks through smoothly, he will be equivalent to the third-level physical cultivation. His strength must have improved by leaps and bounds, and his ability to survive in this secret realm will also be greatly improved. In this way, he calmed down and began to heal his wounds again. 5 days passed unknowingly. When Lin Changqing opened his eyes again, he was fully prepared, so he took out the jade box containing the Thunder Extreme Thunder again. He chose the smallest Thunder Extreme fruit from it, because he only needed to split 2 more Thunder Acupoints to reach the extreme of the foundation establishment period. So it is not necessary to find the big one, and try to save as much as possible. Then split another Acupoint, and you can break through to the Purple Mansion period of the Thunder Sutra. Of course. The cultivation of physical cultivation is equivalent to the initial stage of the third level of physical training. He split the Thunder Extreme fruit into 2 and ate half of it directly. Then the familiar, violent and hot thunder energy appeared again. Chapter 610, Level 3 Physical Training. Lin Changqing was now very experienced, and he immediately began to guide this energy to open up the Thunder Acupoints. Not long after, 2 Thunder Acupoints were successfully opened. At this time, Lin Changqing felt a sense of perfection in his heart. He knew that this was the practice of the foundation building period of the Thunder Sutra, and it had been cultivated to the extreme, a manifestation of no further progress. So he no longer hesitated, and immediately sent the 2 Thunder Spirit Pearls that had been prepared long ago into the newly opened Acupoints using the treasure receiving secret technique. Then he immediately guided the remaining Thunder Attribute energy to impact the 109th Thunder Acupoint. Sure enough, not long after, when the Acupoints were opened, Lin Changqing suddenly heard a loud boom in his sea of consciousness. It woke him up from his state of meditation, and then there were earth-shaking changes in his sea of consciousness. Before he could experience the changes in his sea of consciousness with his heart, he felt that his body began to swell up. This phenomenon almost scared him to death. This had never happened before, and Lin Changqing almost thought he was going to be blown to pieces. Fortunately, when it expanded to a certain extent, the body began to shrink again, and then the process was repeated several times. Then there was another crack, sound, as if something broke, and then all the changes in the body stopped. Then Lin Changqing felt that his body was full of strength again, and the feeling of omnipotence a few days ago appeared again. He felt as if he was so strong that he could split mountains and crack the earth, tear dragons apart with his hands, and he was omnipotent. But he understood that this was just an illusion, a side effect caused by the sudden surge of strength and the inability to control it perfectly for a while. Practice the stick method dozens of times to let the body adapt to this power. After a while, there will be no problem, just like the previous few days. At the same time, Lin Changqing had another enlightenment in his heart. This should be the body. It has broken through the barrier of the third level. Now he is a genuine third-level body cultivator. This is just a change in the body. When this change is completely calmed down, the 109 Thunder Acupoints in the body, all the Thunder Mana in them, began to gather involuntarily in the Danshan. This sudden situation scared Lin Changqing to death again, thinking that there was something wrong with the technique and that his mana was out of control. Because now the Danshan was full of chaotic mana, and now the Thunder Mana was entering the Danshan. If the 2 mana collided with each other, I don't know if he would be blown to pieces. This sudden situation has made Lin Changqing sweat profusely. But now he has no good way, he can only try his best to mobilize the chaotic mana and avoid it as much as possible, so as not to collide with the thunder mana. He even used the magical seed of the great 5 elements return to the ruins technique to desperately consume all the chaotic mana to make room for the Danshan for the thunder mana. Fortunately, his extreme operation was very timely. When all the thunder mana was gathered in the Danshan, the chaotic mana had been completely digested by him, and the generated great 5 elements returned to the ruins technique was also randomly shot into the depths of the cave. He didn't have time to pay attention to where it hit specifically. Now Lin Changqing was fully focused on the changes in the Danshan. For some reason, a tingling sensation began to appear in the body, as if something was beginning to grow. But no matter how Lin Changqing looked inside, he could not find the source. It seemed that this source had penetrated deep into his body, a place that he could not reach. And at this time, the thunder power in Danshan began to gradually decrease, as if it was absorbed and consumed by something. After a while, the Danshan was finally completely empty, and Lin Changqing thought it was over. But at this time, The thunder attribute energy that had not been consumed directly flowed into Danshan, replacing the thunder power just now. But it only supported for a little longer before it was consumed. At this time, the body suddenly sent a signal of extreme hunger, and the signal was so strong that he almost bit his teeth. This feeling is so uncomfortable, how to describe it? This is a feeling of extreme desire for thunder attribute energy. This feeling has been filing Lin Changqing's nerves. It is a very strong and heart-wrenching hunger. So Lin Changqing immediately swallowed the remaining half of the thunder fruit, which slightly relieved the heart-wrenching hunger. However, he guessed that this half might not be enough. Sure enough, after a while, that feeling came again. So he simply took out another thunder fruit, and this time he didn't need to cut it open, and ate the whole thing directly. Then he repeated this action one after another until finally, there was only one largest thunder fruit left in the jade box. The feeling of extreme hunger for thunder attribute energy completely disappeared. At this time, Lin Changqing was really relieved. This breakthrough of the Thunder Sutra really happened in waves. He didn't know if such things happened only to him. Or, all those who practiced the Thunder Sutra had to go through this process. If that was the case, then things would be troublesome. Because as far as he knew, his grandfather, and second uncle, and his father all practiced the Thunder Sutra. But they didn't have as many thunder attribute spiritual objects as Lin Changqing. In addition, the cultivation resources they have are even fewer. It is already very difficult to gather so many thunder attribute spiritual tools. How can they store so many spiritual objects that replenish thunder attribute energy? Besides, there is no mention of this phenomenon in the Thunder Sutra. What if all those who practice the Thunder Sutra have to pass this level? What should they do? When he thought of this, Lin Changqing was like an ant on a hot pot. He wanted to go back now and remind them to prepare early. Because only he knew the taste specifically. He believed that if the demand could not be met, it would even swallow something in the body. He didn't know what it was specifically, but he knew it was definitely not a good thing, so Lin Changqing tried his best to prevent that from happening. Unfortunately, no matter how anxious he was at the scene, it was useless, because they were no longer in the same plane, and it was basically impossible to go back. This made Lin Changqing feel helpless, and it took a long time before he finally recovered. Chapter 611, Thunder Spiritual Roots Grow. Lin Changqing suddenly reacted, not knowing whether it was because of the breakthrough that caused his mood to fluctuate too much, making him suddenly sentimental. But now he has recovered and quickly eliminated all these messy emotions. Then he began to examine his body internally. It was very strange that he had checked it several times from beginning to end this time, and he did not find anything different about himself. However, he just couldn't figure out the thunder mana in the 109 thunder acupoints. In addition to the thunder attribute energy of the 4 thunder fruits, where did they go? What attracted them away? However, he thought about this question and couldn't figure it out, so he simply didn't get stuck in this dead end. Now both kinds of mana in the body have been consumed. This is a very dangerous thing in the secret realm, and it also makes him feel particularly uneasy. So Lin Changqing prepared to restore one kind of mana first, so he poured out a bunch of medium-grade spirit stones in the spirit beast bracelet and took 2 in his hand. Then he slowly absorbed it and began to restore the chaotic mana in his danshan. This process lasted for 2 or 3 hours until his danshan was completely filled with mana. At this time, Lin Changqing took a short break and then began to convert thunder mana. But at this point, it was completely different from before. If the previous conversion rate was 1, then the current conversion rate was more than 60. The speed was amazing. Soon, all the chaotic mana in his danshan turned into thunder mana and was stored in various thunder acupoints. The danshan became empty again. Although this change was amazing, Lin Changqing now had some guesses in his mind. Although this guess was a bit unreal and outrageous, Lin Changqing believed that his guess should be close to the truth. Combined with this sudden change in his body just now, the conclusion he came to was that he might have grown a thunder spirit root. He didn't know why this happened. In his impression, a spiritual object that could help a person increase his spirit root should be a very high-level treasure. But he didn't know why such a lucky thing would happen to him. Was it because the Thunder Sutra and the Thunder Fruit were too compatible with each other? Then the two acted on him, so by chance, he gave birth to the Thunder Spiritual Root. Of course, these are just his current guesses, but if it is just to verify whether he has the Thunder Spiritual Root, it is still very easy. So he first injected all the mana of one of the Thunder acupoints into the Thunder Horn, thus clearing one acupoint. Then he directly operated the exercises in the Thunder Sutra, absorbing spiritual energy from the surrounding environment, and then converted it into thunder mana. Unexpectedly, it actually succeeded, and the speed of conversion was very fast, at least 5 times more than other spiritual routes. This exaggerated discovery almost shocked Lin Changqing's jaw. Then he was ecstatic, because it was so surprising that he couldn't help cheering for a while in the magic circle. It was not easy to calm down the excitement and slowly accept this change. But now he faces more problems. First of all, since it has been confirmed that he has a thunder spirit root in his body, then we need to confirm the qualification of the thunder spirit root. According to his own 5-element spirit roots, each spirit root has a qualification of 20 points. So take this as a comparison. If you want to be twice as fast, you need about 30 points of qualification, twice as fast, about 40 points, and 3 times as fast, 50 points. Then by analogy, if it is really 5 times faster, then his thunder spirit root qualification may be between 60 and 70 points. Of course, this calculation method is too rough, and there are still some discrepancies. If you really want to know the qualification of your thunder spirit root, you still need to use a special high-level spirit measuring disc to measure it more accurately. There is no way to do this now. He has killed so many opponents and repairmen, and has never found this thing, so he doesn't have it himself. He can only wait and find an opportunity to test it again in the future. Anyway, he believes that his thunder spirit root qualification will not be too bad. The second question is that now that he already has a thunder spirit root, then in the future, when he opens up the thunder acupoints, do he need to use suppressants? In order to verify this problem, he directly took out the last 8 thunder spirit pearls that were sent into the acupoint. Sure enough, the thunder magic power inside, after losing the suppressant, did not show any signs of riot or rebellion. Instead, it was very docile, and he mobilized these thunder magic powers very easily. It was even smoother than before. With a thought, it took about 1 breath to generate a Jiangjing divine thunder that he was most familiar with. This effect was already very exaggerated. It was not so fast before. The best result in the past was only 4 to 5 breaths. He tried the other 9 basic thunder methods again. Except for another kind of Kishu Yin Lei, which also took 1 breath to form, the rest took 2 breaths. At this time, he had a clear idea in his mind, and he also understood that the thunder acupoints opened in the future really did not need suppressants. But he still liked this method of hiding thunder attribute spiritual tools or magic treasures in the acupoints. At least in this way, things would not be lost casually. And it can also play a surprising effect, so in the future, if there is a suitable spiritual tool or magic weapon, he will still store it in the thunder acupoint. The third question is about the danshan. The human body has 3 danshans. The upper danshan is at the Bahu acupoint, which is the sea of consciousness, and its function is needless to say. The lower danshan is 3 inches below the navel, where the Guanyin acupoint is located, which is what is usually called the danshan. Now his fundamental method, the chaotic mana cultivated by the 5 elements Chaos Sutra, is hovering in this lower danshan position. The rest is the middle danshan, which is also the Juk acupoint 1 inch and 5 points below the xiphoid process of the sternum. In the past, there was no thunder spirit root, so he could not control so much thunder mana in the danshan, so he never considered the problem of opening up the middle danshan. Now if the middle danshan is opened up, it can accommodate about twice the thunder mana, which will greatly improve with strength and combat sustainability. However, the content of the first few levels of the Thunder Sutra in Lin Changqing's hand is mainly based on the cultivation of 365 thunder acupoints. Chapter 612, Going to be struck by lightning. Lin Changqing, on the contrary, did not have the cultivation method of the internal power of the middle danshan. If he really wanted to open up the middle danshan, he would need to spend some time and energy to complete this matter, and if he wanted to expand the middle danshan in the future, he would also need to work hard. But now that he has the thunder spirit root, he must want to make himself stronger. So after considering it, he decided to find time to open up the middle danshan in the future and let the thunder mana stay there. But things always have 2 sides. After all, the thunder acupoints cultivated by the Thunder Sutra can be controlled and closed when necessary. In other words, if Lin Changqing closes all the acupoints, others will not be able to sense the thunder mana on his body. This can have an unexpected effect, and it is also a very good trump card. But now that Lin Changqing has the thunder spirit root, It is estimated that he can't hide it after entering the sect, so he might as well open up another middle dantian. However, the trump card and the unexpected effect are gone, but with sharper and stronger fangs, I believe no one will dare to mess with him casually. After thinking through all these issues, Lin Changqing left the magic circle and came to the small valley. He wanted to test the increase in his spiritual consciousness after the advancement, and began to release his spiritual consciousness to extend in one direction. 500 feet, 800 feet, 1,000 feet, and finally reached an astonishing 1,200 feet. In other words, if Lin Changqing's spiritual consciousness is fully released, it can reach a little more than 3.5 miles. This discovery once again made him ecstatic. You know, with such a strong spiritual consciousness, he will no longer be easily attacked by the third-level monsters in the secret realm. As long as Lin Changqing is alert, it will not be so easy to attack him. And correspondingly, his attack distance will become longer. Now his thunder method can also attack targets within 3.5 miles. The next time he encounters a third-level monster, he doesn't have to think of ways to lure it closer. As long as it is within the range of 3.5 miles, Lin Changqing can directly give it a hard blow. In this way, he has the capital to run rampant in the secret realm again. With this discovery, Lin Changqing's heart instantly became active. The first thing he thought of was the 3 thunder fruit trees and the 27 unripe thunder fruits hanging on them. He thought about whether he could wait until the time was right and the fruits were about to ripen, and then think of a way to get some more thunder fruits. After all, this thunder fruit was too suitable for him, and Lin Changqing suspected that his ability to grow thunder spiritual roots was also closely related to this thunder fruit. He wanted to get more of them for himself, or see if he had a chance to go back and give them to his family. Let them try to see if they could grow thunder spiritual roots as well. If they succeeded, it would be incredible. But those were all things for the future. It was estimated that the area near Jiufeng Mountain had just been cleared by the three-eyed Thunder Ape clan. In a short period of time, no one would dare to approach there again, so Lin Changqing was not going to go there now. Instead, he wanted to wait 2 months. When the thunder fruits were almost ripe, and then go to Jiufeng Mountain again to try to catch them all. Now he should go back and restore the chaotic mana in his dantian. So he turned back, inside the magic circle in the cave, and then took the middle-grade spirit stone in his hand and began to recover his mana. Just like this, 2 or 3 hours passed, when Lin Changqing had fully recovered all his strength. Suddenly, he had a feeling that he was going to survive the thunder tribulation, and in 12 hours, his thunder tribulation would come. This sudden feeling scared Lin Changqing, although he had already thought of this possibility. But when he really confirmed that the thunder tribulation would come, he was still panicking. Fortunately, Lin Changqing quickly sorted out his situation. He checked the things in his hands that could help him survive the tribulation. The first thing he thought of was the pile of defensive spiritual tools. There were about 30 or 40 pieces. He originally wanted to find an opportunity to sell them and exchange them for spirit stones. Now he could only use them as consumables after offering sacrifices to help him survive the tribulation. The second thing he thought of was those magic weapons, but because they were not used, most of them were left in the inner space. Now, he only had the commonly used gauze magic weapon on him, and the last time he was attacked by the three-eyed thunder ape with a Wuxi divine thunder. The gauze magic weapon was covered by him. Although it was not damaged at that time, it did not play any defensive role, so the gauze magic weapon could not be relied on. The third thing he thought of was to use the magic array to help him overcome the tribulation. But he only had 2 second-level magic arrays, which were probably the best, and could only help him resist a wave of thunder tribulation. These were the only things Lin Changqing could think of in a short period of time. The rest seemed to let the purple crystal scorpion grow up to take the thunder, but he was unwilling to do so. So he immediately found all the defensive spiritual tools, counted them carefully, and found that there were only 38 in total. In addition to the various defensive spiritual tools he had on him, there were exactly 50. Lin Changqing did not dare to delay time. He immediately began to sacrifice and refine. About every quarter of an hour, he could sacrifice and refine a defensive spiritual tool. When he finished them all, almost 10 hours had passed, and he hurriedly seized the last moment to recover the consumed chaotic mana. Finally, when the last thunder tribulation was about to come, he was fully recovered, so he immediately recovered the 2 arrays and quickly left the cave. Then he came to the small valley, quickly arranged the 2 arrays that had just been recovered, and specially filled them with a lot of medium-grade spirit stones. At this time, Lin Changqing had done everything he could do. Whether he could survive this thunder tribulation depended on God's will. If the heaven really wanted to punish him and directly gave him a 39th thunder tribulation, he would definitely die. 12 hours had just passed. The sky above Lin Changqing's head immediately changed from the original clear sky and sunny weather. Then in a very short time, it quickly turned into a state of dark clouds. Moreover, in these dense dark clouds, there were flashes of lightning from time to time, letting Lin Changqing know that the power of this thunder tribulation must be not small. Moreover, the area of this dark cloud is really not small, and it is estimated to be about 20 miles in size. Only when a person stands under such a large cloud can he truly feel his own insignificance. Chapter 613, The End of the Road. Facing this manifestation of the way of heaven, it is really majestic, and people feel a chill when they look at it. Although he also mentioned the matter of transcending the tribulation when he heard Zhang preach last time, other aspects are not useful in his current conditions. The most useful point is that Zhang once said that the power of thunder tribulation is from weak to strong. So Lin Changqing prepared to use his physique as a body cultivator to take the first thunder at the beginning of the thunder tribulation. He believed that he had a high probability that although he would be injured a little, he would definitely be able to take it. However, the thunder tribulation in the sky did not give him too much time to consider. A flash of lightning, and a golden thunder, struck him directly. Then Lin Changqing heard a loud bang, but at this time, he might not have time to care about these things. This golden thunder is the Zhengjing divine thunder that he is most familiar with, but the power is much stronger than that he himself emits. The 3 layers of the 5 elements Yunun shield he condensed only played a small role in blocking and weakening. Most of the remaining power was all bombarded on Lin Changqing, although he was now a 3rd-level physical cultivator. But a ball of blood mist immediately exploded on his body, and his skin and flesh were directly torn apart, and he also vomited a large mouthful of black and red blood. At this time, Lin Changqing breathed a sigh of relief. Through personal attempts, he finally knew the approximate power of this thunder tribulation. Although he looked miserable now, most of them were skin injuries, and the blood stasis in his body was also vomited out by him just now. He immediately took 2 rejuvenation pills for himself, and then quickly treated the wounds on his body. Then he sacrificed 3 second-level inferior defensive spiritual tools, ready to welcome the second thunder. He planned to use these defensive spiritual tools from the second-level inferior ones, and try to save the high-quality spiritual tools for later. Lin Changqing knew from Zhang the time between 2 thunders when crossing the tribulation. It's about 36 breaths, so we must make good use of this time period. At this time, the second Zhengjing divine thunder also struck down, and immediately pushed him in front, and smashed all the defensive spiritual tools in a row. And the remaining power of the divine thunder also penetrated 2 layers of the 5 elements Yunun shield, and was finally completely blocked by the 3rd layer of the Yunun shield. The second divine thunder was unscathed by him. Next, this greatly increased Lin Changqing's confidence. The 3rd and 4th Zhengjing divine thunders consumed a total of 7 of his second-level low-grade spiritual tools. Adding the consumption of the second divine thunder, a total of 10 second-level low-grade spiritual tools, all of which were scrapped. The 5th divine thunder consumed 3 second-level medium-grade spiritual tools, the 6th consumed 4, and the 7th and 8th divine thunders consumed 5 and 6. When it came to the 9th Zhengjing divine thunder, Lin Changqing used 7 second-level medium-grade defensive spiritual tools according to his experience and pushed forward. Unexpectedly, this time he suffered a big loss. Because the power of the heavenly tribulation thunder would increase greatly when the 9th day came. He didn't react at all, and the 7 defensive spiritual tools on his head and the 3 layers of the 5 elements Yunun shield were immediately broken. And the heavenly tribulation thunder, with at least 30% of its power remaining, struck him directly, and then a cloud of blood mist burst out of his body again. If it weren't for the fact that he was a 3rd-level physical cultivator, he would have died this time. But his current situation is not much better. Now he has been struck to the ground by the heavenly tribulation thunder. And he was also seriously injured. At this time, Lin Changqing looked up at the sky and found that the calamity clouds in the sky did not dissipate. Instead, the scale became even larger. In a very short time, it expanded to an area of more than 30 miles. A large area of black mass made the people standing below feel more depressed and desperate. He knew that he couldn't hesitate or give up at this time, so he took 2 more rejuvenation pills. Then he quickly calculated how many defensive spiritual tools he had left. Finally, after counting, it was found that the previous 19 days of tribulation had consumed 35 of his second-level middle and lower-grade spiritual items. Just used up all the middle and lower-grade defensive spiritual tools in his hand. And now he has a total of 15 second-level upper-grade and second-level top-grade spiritual items left, and this number still includes the Thunder-attributed defensive spiritual tools in the Thunder acupoint. And the most important thing is that he is already seriously injured at this time. In this situation, Lin Changqing himself is a little desperate. However, with his personality, it is impossible for him to sit and wait for death, so Lin Changqing quickly cheered up. He controlled 2 second-level upper-grade spiritual tools and condensed 5 layers of the 5 elements Hunan shield, and held them on his head. The defensive spiritual tools should not be enough. Now there is only the mana in the body, but there is still about 70% left. In that case, the only way to increase defense is to consume mana and condense the Hunan shield. Boom! A golden lightning flashed down again. Lin Changqing understood at a glance that the 29th heavenly tribulation was still known for its sharp Jiangjing divine thunder. The 2 defensive spiritual tools he placed on his head were directly smashed, and the 5-layer 5 elements Hunan shield also broke 3 layers, leaving only 2 layers. Lin Changqing compared and sensed it, and found that the power of this heavenly tribulation divine thunder was about twice as strong as the first heavenly tribulation. So he knew what was going on, and took 2 more Hulang pills. There was no other way, taking so many pills in a short time. He could only spend more time in the future to refine and eliminate the pill poison, but now it was important to save his life first. So he controlled 2 more defensive spiritual tools on top, and the 5 elements Hunan shield was also increased to 6 layers. Boom, boom, boom. After the 29th heavenly tribulation, the 7th Jiangjing divine thunder, all the defensive spiritual tools on Lin Changqing's body had been consumed, including the precious 5 elements thunder umbrella, which was just shattered by the heavenly tribulation thunder. And even Lin Changqing was slightly injured again. Now he has reached the end of his rope, but the heavenly tribulation will not pity him, so the 8th Jiangjing thunder struck again. He had no choice but to condense 10 layers of the 5 elements Hunan shield and activate the Lianga Inaxi formation. Boom, the shield was broken, the formation was broken, and the heavenly tribulation thunder had at least 30% of its power left, which struck Lin Changqing and blasted him directly into the mud. Now his body is already in tatters, with skin and flesh torn and stained red with blood. Or it was the black wounds left after being hit by the heavenly tribulation thunder and severely burned. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 614 Great Benefits. It can be said that there is no intact part of his body, but Lin Changqing has not given up yet. He is still trying to hold on. But at this time, he did not take the rejuvenation pill, but swallowed a whole bottle of Hulang pill directly. When the medicinal power of the pill is almost dissolved, he will guide all the magic power to flow into the magical seed of the great 5 elements Gixa technique. Then he activated the last magic array, and when the 9th Jiangjing divine thunder came down, he threw the great 5 elements Gixa technique at the thunder. He can only do this, and life or death is left to God. Boom. The body felt extremely severe pain again, and the body lost control. Lin Changqing knew that he had failed in the end. He should die soon. At this time, he missed his parents and sister, as well as other people in the family. Finally, his consciousness quickly dissipated, and a figure with a black body fell in a small valley in the Liji secret realm. When Lin Changqing fell and his consciousness quickly dissipated, all the purple crystal scorpions on guard around the small valley quickly returned to his side. Perhaps they sensed that their master was about to die, so they automatically gathered around Lin Changqing, and lay around him, quietly accompanying him. At this time, the calamity clouds in the sky were also dissipating quickly, and soon the sky was clear again. Then a colorful ray of light was cast from the sky, shining on Lin Changqing. With his body as the origin, the area within a radius of 3 feet was covered by the ray of light. This ray of colorful light only lasted for a total of 2/4 of an hour, and then disappeared. Lin Changqing was still lying in the small valley, not waking up, But at this time, his injuries were recovering quickly, and his breathing was very stable. On the contrary, the 88 purple crystal scorpions accompanying Lin Changqing were all cheering. Because just now, after being exposed to the colorful ray of light, they all got a lot of luck. Although it looks no different from before, after being exposed to the colorful ray of light, the potential of these 88 purple crystal scorpions has become even greater, but it's a pity that Lin Changqing fell into deep sleep and missed this wonderful scene. However, this colorful glow was originally the reward given to him by the heaven after he survived the heavenly tribulation. So whether Lin Changqing is unconscious or awake, it does not affect his getting this reward. It's just a pity that he fell into coma and didn't know anything. He didn't release other spirit insects or spirit pets, so they missed this opportunity in vain. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Changqing finally woke up. After getting up, he couldn't help stretching. He just had a very long dream, dreaming that he had successfully cultivated and successfully returned to Jiufeng Mountain. Then the family was reunited, and Chen Ziya and Mu Xiaoxiao also returned to his side. When Lin Changqing was about to find them to cooperate and create the next generation of the Lin family, he suddenly woke up, which made him neither up nor down. At this time, Lin Changqing came back to his senses, looked at his dark body, and couldn't help but touch it lightly. A lot of black debris fell off the surface of his body. It took him some time to clean the surface of his body. After research, he found that all the injuries on his body had healed, and there was not even a scar left. Seeing this result, he was very surprised. It was really amazing. Normally, with the injuries he had just suffered, he would definitely not be able to recover without a year or two of recuperation. Not to mention, he recovered quickly in a short period of time. It was really a gift from heaven, which made people feel awe. Looking at his strong and well-defined body, Lin Changqing was very satisfied. But now he was naked, he was still very uncomfortable, so he quickly found a set of his own clothes in the storage bag and put them on. At this time, no matter how slow Lin Changqing was in reaction, he knew that he should have survived the thunder tribulation. And he received the gift of the avenue after the thunder tribulation, so his body could be restored to its original state in a short time. At this time, after surviving the catastrophe, Lin Changqing really didn't know how to describe his current mood. Generally speaking, he was happy, surprised, and in awe. Fortunately, he dared not say anything. He survived this heavenly tribulation, which was a cause for celebration. But the loss this time was really huge. Looking at the hundreds of pieces of spiritual weapon fragments around, including the 2 array plates, they were all shattered by the heavenly tribulation thunder. Now he didn't have any defensive spiritual weapons on him. During this period, he had to be more cautious. However, there was no loss of attacking spiritual weapons. He was thinking about whether to go out and encounter a few tribulation repairers. Looking at the messy environment around him, he found an empty storage bag and collected all the spiritual weapon fragments on the ground. If Lin Changqing was still by his side, these things could be thrown into the deep pit for waste utilization. Now he could only collect them first. He saw that all the purple crystal scorpions gave up their alert mission and returned to his side. After communicating with them, Lin Changqing knew what was going on, so he was still very relieved. These little guys really deserved to be raised by him since they were young. Even if they had to survive the thunder tribulation, he was reluctant to let them take the lead. As soon as they felt that Lin Changqing's consciousness was about to die, they rushed back to his side to accompany him and protect him. Lin Changqing really liked these little guys more and more, so he poured out hundreds of low-grade spirit stones and got some third-level monster meat to feed them. After they finished eating, Lin Changqing sent them out to guard around the valley again, preventing cultivators or monsters from noticing that someone was going through the tribulation here and coming to take advantage. He himself returned to the cave. Without the protection of the magic circle, he found a hidden place as a new campsite. Only at this time did Lin Changqing have time to check his physical condition. The first change was that the chaotic mana in the lower Danshan had a much higher quality after the thunder tribulation. And most importantly, his current cultivation of the fundamental law has reached the 8th level of foundation building. And it is the late 8th level of foundation building. As long as it is consolidated for a period of time, he can start to break through the 9th level of foundation building. Unexpectedly, after going through the 29 heavenly tribulation, he can also reap such a huge benefit. Chapter 615, Divine Awareness increases again. Although the whole process of crossing the tribulation was a life and death struggle, it saved him decades of hard training. It was a huge surprise, and most importantly, the inside of his Danshan also expanded accordingly. It can be said that his strength increased greatly at once. Apart from anything else, if he used the Great Five Elements Giksa technique again, the power would be at least 3 to 5 times greater than before. The next thing was the thunder power in the acupoints. Similarly, the quality of the thunder power was also greatly improved. There were no major changes in other aspects. However, the quality of the thunder power was improved, and the power of the corresponding thunder methods was naturally increased. It was just that it was not convenient to try it now because it was still in the cave. However, Lin Changqing believed that the power of various thunder methods would be at least doubled in the future. This was also the benefit of crossing the thunder tribulation. Finally, it was the divine consciousness. I don't know if it was because the fundamental method had broken through 3 small levels. Therefore, the divine consciousness was increased again. Now, if the divine consciousness was extended in one direction with all its strength, it could reach a distance of about 4.5 miles. This made Lin Changqing very satisfied. His spiritual awareness increased, and his attack range naturally increased. This is what he likes most. In this secret realm, it will not be the third-level monsters that discover Lin Changqing first. On the contrary, it is very likely that Lin Changqing will discover them first, and the result is obvious. According to Lin Changqing's character, he must strike first and give them a ruthless blow, so that they can also taste the taste of being attacked by others. After the internal inspection, he knew what was going on. His current situation was still quite strange. The fundamental law of the 5 elements Chaos Sutra, which he mainly practiced, is now only at the 8th level of the foundation building. On the contrary, the Thunder Sutra, which he practiced as a supplement, has reached the 3rd level, that is, the Purple Mansion period. So his current aura gives people a very strange feeling, strong at one moment and weak at another, which is also because he has just advanced. He can't completely control his aura yet. After a period of adaptation, there will naturally be no problem. Of course, because you practice 2 different sets of exercises, it caused his current situation. If Lin Changqing sealed all the thunder acupoints, then what others could sense was his cultivation in the foundation building period. But if he did not seal the thunder acupoints, then what others could sense was his cultivation in the Purple Mansion period. So relatively speaking, there are still pros and cons. At least Lin Changqing knew that when he broke through to the Purple Mansion period with the fundamental method he was mainly practicing, he would definitely have to go through another thunder tribulation. Although he had experienced it once, he was still not sure if he could get through it again. So now thinking about it, he still felt very palpitating, and he also admired his recklessness and ignorance. He dared to break through to the Purple Mansion period without any preparation. Fortunately, no matter what, everything is over now, and he has had experience once. Next time, he will definitely be very well prepared before considering the issue of promotion and breakthrough. And next time, it is very likely that he will already be a disciple of Xianshu sect. Presumably at that time, he should be qualified to borrow the sect's tribulation platform. In that way, the chance of withstanding the thunder tribulation will be much greater. After sorting out all the clues, Lin Changqing was very satisfied. He recorded all the processes of this thunder tribulation in a jade slip so that he could check it at any time. This thing can be used in the future. He gave it to his family to read and learn from it. Of course, he did not record any of the content that cannot be written. Now the only thing he is not satisfied with is that he took several bottles of elixirs in a short period of time. As a result, there are still a lot of elixir poisons in his body. It is estimated that it will take a lot of time to clean it up. This is the only flaw. Fortunately, as long as Lin Changqing is patient and willing to spend time to clean it up, he can always solve this problem. When he was about to start running the exercises and consolidate his cultivation, he suddenly received an early warning from the purple crystal scorpion. He was about to get up and go out to check what was going on, and then he heard 3 extremely sharp screams. At this moment, he roughly understood what was going on. It was estimated that someone really saw the movement here. So he couldn't help but come over to explore and see if he could pick up some bargains. Unexpectedly, their luck was so bad that they happened to fall into the warning range of the purple crystal scorpion, and the consequences were needless to say. Lin Changqing hurried out, and soon, under the guidance of the purple crystal scorpion, he found the bodies of 3 monks. After sensing them, he found that all of them were in the late stage of foundation building. He flew up to the sky again, and used his spiritual sense to search carefully several times along the surroundings of the small valley, confirming that there were no other monks nearby. Then he went down and collected the storage bags on the 3 unlucky guys and the spiritual tools that fell around them. Then he used the fireball technique to deal with the bodies of the 3 people, and ordered the purple crystal scorpion to continue to be alert. He returned to the camp in the cave. Now Lin Changqing was in a very good mood. He picked up 6 storage bags for nothing. There should be something he needed in it, so he started to sacrifice and refine it directly. After success, he dumped everything on the ground. Then he looked for the defensive spiritual tools inside as soon as possible. His luck was not good or bad, and he found a total of 6. The only thing that could enter Lin Changqing's eyes was a top-grade defensive spiritual tool, which was the kind of spiritual tool that could automatically activate the 3-layer defense shield when encountering a breakthrough attack. There were also 2 shield-shaped top-grade defensive spiritual tools, and he didn't care about the rest of the offensive and defensive spiritual tools. With these 3 defensive spiritual tools, Lin Changqing felt a lot more at ease. Next, he sorted out the things on the ground into categories. There were more than 50,000 medium and low-grade spiritual stones in total. 3 cultivators in the late stage of foundation building only had this amount of spiritual stones, so they could only be said to be very average. There were only more than 20 bottles of elixirs, and there were about 10 spiritual tools, which he put away in different categories. The most unexpected thing was that he actually found a second-level array plate, which happened to be something he urgently needed. So in more than a dozen jade slips, he found the introduction of this array plate and the specific method of use. After Lin Changqing checked it, he realized that the array plate in his hand was a second-level thick earth mountain defense array, a purely defensive type of array. He himself had many array plates, and his experience in array formation was also rich, so after reading it twice, he knew how to use this array. Chapter 616 Combination of Thunder Methods. He immediately arranged the magic array around the campsite, so that he would be much safer when he was practicing in seclusion in the future. At least he would not be disturbed casually. The next thing was some messy materials, as well as the clothes and sundries of the 3 unlucky guys, daily necessities and the like. He collected all the useful materials, and put all the other useless things into a small storage bag, dug a deep pit outside, and buried it directly. After dealing with these things, he officially began to practice the exercises and consolidate his cultivation. In this way, Lin Changqing practiced in seclusion here. Most of the time during the day, he mainly practiced the stick method to adapt to the sudden surge of strength in his body. And after his many attempts, he has tested that the current limit of his physical strength is about 100,000 pounds. So the spiritual weapon long stick he is using now is already light in his hand, but now the conditions are limited, so he can only use it like this first. Wait for a chance in the future, and then find a handy melee weapon. Of course, he is so powerful now, he can also wear some heavy defensive spiritual armor. But Lin Changqing would definitely not do this, and even if it was a real physical cultivation, few people would do this. Because if you really wear a heavy defensive spiritual armor, weighing thousands or tens of thousands of kilograms, your flexibility and speed will definitely be greatly affected. In addition, the spiritual stones required for thousands of kilograms or tens of thousands of high-level materials are definitely a very huge number. Therefore, there are still very few physical cultivations that can afford this huge expense, and the third-level physical cultivation is Lin Changqing's trump card, which will definitely not be exposed casually. If he wears heavy defensive spiritual armor, then others will know that he is a physical cultivation at a glance. So even if he has the ability to get heavy spiritual armor, he can't wear it at ordinary times. At most, he can only use it as a trump card and put it in the Spirit Beast bracelet, and use it at critical times. At other times and at night, he practices 2 fundamental methods, as well as various magic spells. Among them, it should be emphasized that after the Thunder Sutra enters the Purple Mansion period, it can already practice the Thunder Escape technique and the preliminary combination of thunder methods. The law of combination is based on the law of mutual generation and mutual generation of the 5 elements thunder method. For example, gold produces water, which can form Jinlin water thunder, and water produces wood, which can be combined into Shuling wood thunder. Wood produces fire, which is combined into Muayin fire thunder. Fire produces earth, which is combined into Huorang earth thunder, and earth produces gold, which is combined into Tujin Yuan thunder. This combination of divine thunder has dual attribute damage, and they complement each other, so the power is more than twice that of the basic thunder method. During this period, Lin Changqing has focused on practicing this combination of thunder methods, but because it involves two attributes, it is not very easy to control. Therefore, the speed of thunder method formation is relatively slow, and it takes about 7 or 8 breaths. This time is too long, and it is not very practical in actual combat. But if you practice more in the future, the time should be greatly shortened. Thunder escape technique. Feng Liwing has this spell, and Lin Changqing has experienced it many times, so the practice of thunder escape technique is unexpectedly smooth. In addition, he now has a good thunder spirit root, so he has practiced thunder escape technique to the point of rapid entry and close to small success. Moreover, his thunder escape technique was no worse than when he used the wind and thunder wings. This was another big gain during this period of time. In this way, 2 months had passed before he knew it, and there were only about 10 days left before the end of the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm. After Lin Changqing finished his training that day, he calculated the time and knew that he couldn't stay any longer. So early the next morning, he packed up his things and recalled the purple crystal scorpions that were on guard outside the valley. Then he flew towards Jilei Mountain. Although he had gotten much better from the first day of the new year to now, he was still not completely healed after all, and the secret realm was still too dangerous for it, so he didn't release them. In addition, he was now considered a purple mansion cultivator, and his flying speed was at least twice as fast as before. So this time, Lin Changqing still used the Thunder Sword, which was known for its speed, and his speed was several times faster than when he was in the Foundation establishment period. Therefore, this time, it took only more than 3 hours to reach the vicinity of Jilei Mountain, but he was still relatively low-key. He did not approach in a swaggering manner, but after reaching the Jilei Mountain, he changed to an ordinary flying sword, and only showed the cultivation of the 8th level of foundation building. When he was only a few dozen miles away from Jilei Mountain, Lin Changqing was intercepted by 3 cultivators. He thought he had met another robber cultivator who was sending him spirit stones. Unexpectedly, one of them said, "Fellow Taoist, don't misunderstand, we have no ill intentions. I wonder if you are looking for Jilei Mountain." Lin Changqing had actually discovered them a long time ago, and just gave them a chance to rob him. But now it seems that Lin Changqing may have wronged them. So he took a look at the 3 of them before saying, "That's right. What do you 3 fellow Taoists mean by stopping me?" The 3 of them looked at each other, and it was the same man who spoke up. "That's great. Fellow Taoist is exactly the person we need. I can tell you that the Jilei Mountain is a few dozen miles ahead, and the thunder fruit is on this mountain." Lin Changqing pretended to be surprised and asked, "This is Jilei Mountain. Fellow Taoist, what do you mean by telling me such important news?" The man continued, "To be honest, there are thousands of second-order three-eyed thunder apes and more than a dozen third-order thunder apes on Jilei Mountain. It is not possible to pick the thunder fruit by one person alone, so we would like to invite fellow Taoists to join us." Lin Changqing listened, looked at them with a smile, and then said lightly, "Sorry. I refuse. Even if I'm included, there are only 4 of us. I don't think that 4 foundation building cultivators can break into Jilei Mountain by force. That's no different from seeking death," the man quickly explained. "No, fellow Taoists misunderstood. It's not just the 4 of us. We have contacted more than 300 Taoist friends who are interested. When the time comes, we will act together. As long as we cooperate well, we still have a great chance to pick the thunder fruit. And not only that, no matter whether we can get the thunder fruit in the end, only we can leave this secret realm alive. At worst, we can join the Wandao sect, or even the Xianshu sect then. With the friendship of this cooperation, we can help each other in the sect in the future, or we can keep each other warm together. What do you think, Taoist friends?" Chapter 617 Fishing in Troubled Waters. After hearing this, Lin Changqing was moved. If there were really so many people, it would be a very good opportunity for him. As for helping each other and keeping warm, it was not very suitable for him. After all, he had 3 thunder extreme fruits in his hand. As long as he could get out alive, he could join the Xianshu sect, and the people who could eventually join the Xianshu sect here were estimated to be at most a few, and maybe, except for him, there might not be one. So he asked again, "Since there are so many Taoist friends participating, but there is a great possibility of success, then I would like to ask, If the thunder extreme fruit is really picked at that time, how should it be distributed? The man did not answer immediately, but after a pause, he said, "It must be, whoever picks it, it belongs to him. Do you really want to pick the thunder extreme fruit, and you are willing to take it out? I don't think there should be this possibility." Hearing this, Lin Changqing agreed very much. But he knew that if this was really the case, then when the thunder extreme fruit was picked, it would be the time for internal strife, and it might even cause a big melee. So after thinking about it, he overturned the decision to join them and act according to circumstances. So he shook his head and said, "It seems that we may have to deal with the three-eyed thunder ape in the early stage, and the former companions in the later stage. I don't have the ability, so I won't wade into this muddy water. Sorry, three of you." After saying that, without waiting for the three people to stay again, he turned around and left very simply. In fact, at this time, Lin Changqing had secretly prepared for them to turn against each other, but fortunately, the situation he expected did not happen. However, after flying 20 or 30 miles, he landed in the woods. Then he put on the light gauze magic weapon and quietly touched the location of the three people just now. He found them again very smoothly. The three of them were hiding in a magic circle, and Lin Changqing was not far away, staring at them. This wait took several hours, until the evening. The three of them left the magic circle. Then they went to the foot of Jili Mountain, and Lin Changqing followed them behind. After 2/4 of an hour, they arrived at a small valley again. And the whole valley was covered by a magic array. After they cast a spell, they went inside. Lin Changqing understood that the hundreds of cultivators they were talking about should be inside. But he didn't have the ability to enter the valley without alarming anyone, so he just looked outside the magic array. Remember this place firmly in your heart, maybe it will be useful in the future. Then he turned around and left, and began to touch the Jili Mountain. He had done this once, so he was familiar with it. The first half was okay, and all he saw were second-level three-eyed thunder apes. Although the number was not as many as before, it still felt a little less. It seems that the cultivators at the foot of the mountain have also caused considerable losses to the three-eyed thunder ape clan in recent times. But this didn't have much impact on him. It took him a while to successfully touch this section. When it was completely dark, he had already touched the thunder falling area, but when he got here, there was a problem. When he got here, he didn't dare to use his spiritual sense recklessly, for fear of alarming the third-level thunder ape. Lin Changqing used his eyes to observe directly. But he saw that every few miles, there was a third-level thunder ape patrolling, with their ability to see through the light gauze magic weapon. If he got closer, he would probably be discovered by them, and then he would probably face the siege of more than a dozen third-level thunder apes. In that case, even he would have a great chance of falling here directly. So Lin Changqing really didn't dare to move forward, but for safety reasons, he retreated to the front half of the area where the woods grew. These three-eyed thunder apes should have learned from the experience of losing the thunder extreme fruit last time, and specially dispatched the third-level thunder apes to guard against it. Prevent others from secretly taking away the thunder extreme fruit again. Lin Changqing didn't expect that what he did last time would also pit himself. It was really a bit speechless. But now this situation, it is definitely not a wise thing to continue, so he simply turned around and left Jili Mountain. He went to the small valley just now and found a suitable place to hide and observe the outside of the valley. After setting up the second-level defense array and activating it, he stayed inside. Now his idea is very simple, that is, to fish in troubled waters. He just wants to use the hundreds of cultivators in the valley. When they start to take action and attract the attention of most of the three-eyed thunder apes, Lin Changqing will take the opportunity to sneak in and take away all the thunder fruits. After making up his mind, he waited patiently. This wait lasted for another 7 or 8 days. To be honest, if he hadn't seen that someone was brought to the small valley every day, Lin Changqing almost lost his patience, but during this period, a lot of manpower was added below, and it is estimated that there are at least 300 or 400 people. But he is still anxious, because in 2 days, the 3-month period will be up. If they don't take action again, it is estimated that there will be no chance, and soon everyone will be excluded from the secret realm. Fortunately, today, the people in the valley did not disappoint him. In the early morning, more than 400 foundation building cultivators came out of the small valley. Most of these people were in the late stage of foundation building, and a few were even in the great perfection of foundation building. Anyway, it was obvious from the looks of it that they were all really strong cultivators. After all, in such a dangerous secret realm, those who could survive to the end must be strong. After everyone came out, they all divided into standard hunting teams of 5 people, and then began to fly towards Jiufeng Mountain. Needless to say, Lin Changqing must have been wearing a magic veil and followed them invisibly, and soon arrived at the foot of Jiufeng Mountain. They did not rush up immediately, but some people began to come out and find a place to set up the formation. After that, they sent 10 teams up the mountain. When they encountered the three-eyed thunder ape, they kept wandering around, and then used magic to bombard it randomly, and waited until they attracted enough thunder apes. They began to run down the mountain, and they attracted more than 200 second-level three-eyed thunder apes at once, and very smoothly led them into the formation at the foot of the mountain. Needless to say, the result was that although the situation inside was covered by the formation, no sound came out. Chapter 618, The Fisherman Gains Benefit. But Lin Changqing could also imagine what was happening inside. The weaknesses of these three-eyed thunder apes were targeted by others, and it was estimated that they would definitely not get a good result. After about an hour, another group of 10 5-man teams came up to Jiufeng Mountain. They wanted to repeat the process just now, but unfortunately the three-eyed thunder apes were also ape monsters with many spiritualities, and they were not fooled all the time. So this time, the 10 teams attracted 2 third-level thunder apes and more than 100 second-level ones. Lin Changqing listened to the continuous roar of the Wu Earth Divine Thunder and various thrilling screams. He quickly hid his figure in the bushes and slept as little as possible, for fear of attracting the attention of the third-level thunder apes. Fortunately, all the thunder apes' attention was on the monks who were fleeing in front, and they did not pay attention to the other people around who wanted to fish in troubled waters. The 10 5-man teams that went up the mountain in front faced 2 third-level thunder apes, so their end was very miserable. Now only a little more than half of the number of people are left, and they had to use their best tricks to escape from the mountain and successfully rush into the formation. This time, the three-eyed thunder apes rushed into the formation without any hesitation, but this time, they were not so smooth. As soon as the 2 third-level thunder apes entered the formation, they were immediately attacked by most of the monks. Although they also caused some casualties to the monks inside, they eventually died in the formation. Including the more than 100 second-level three-eyed thunder apes following behind them, they all died in about half an hour. But this time, things were not so smooth, because the casualties of the team that lured the three-eyed thunder ape were too great. Now no one is willing to carry out this task again, so that Lin Changqing is a little impatient waiting outside. The inside of the formation is still arguing, but their silence does not mean that the three-eyed thunder apes on Jiufeng Mountain are silent. At first, there were some ape roars, followed by a series of responses, and then continuous rumbling sounds. Not long after, a large group of three-eyed thunder apes rushed down from Jiufeng Mountain. Lin Changqing knew that the thunder apes must have gone down the mountain in large numbers. They couldn't be so stupid to be lured down the mountain in batches and annihilated. Lin Changqing confirmed again that there was no problem with his hiding place, and then he turned his eyes to the battlefield again. The first thing that came into view was 10 3-level three-eyed thunder apes that were 1.5 feet high and looked like a meat mountain, and there were 300 or 400 second-level thunder apes around. Now these second and third-level monsters are bombarding the third-level formation. The noise is so loud that it is deafening. Seeing this situation, Lin Changqing knew that most of the three-eyed thunder apes should have gone down the mountain. Now is the time when the strength on the mountain is empty, so without any hesitation, he immediately sneaked up to Jiufeng Mountain and touched it. This was already the third time that Lin Changqing had gone up the mountain, so he was familiar with the route. In addition, there were only a few dozen first-level three-eyed thunder ape cubs left on the mountain, but he did not attack them, and these little guys did not pose any threat to him. So he passed through the lower part of the Jiufeng Mountain very quickly and entered the thunder falling area in the upper part. In the past, there was a third-level thunder ape patrolling every 3 or 4 miles, but now this place is empty, with only the occasional roar of thunder. Having had experience once, he knew how to pass through this area quickly, so he did not delay here for too long. However, when passing through this area, several thunders still fell on him. But for Lin Changqing now, it was nothing. After all, he was a third-level thunder cultivator, plus a third-level body cultivator. This kind of natural thunder falling on him was nothing to him. Compared to the heavenly tribulation thunder that Lin Changqing had experienced 2 months ago, it was really far worse. However, in such a dangerous place, his spiritual sense was always fully open, fearing that he would be attacked again. So before he got close to the top of the mountain, Lin Changqing discovered that there were 3 huge thunder apes on the top of the mountain. Needless to say, the monster that could stay on the top of the mountain for a long time in the environment of dense thunder must be a 3rd-level thunder ape. But discovering 3 3rd-level thunder apes at once made him embarrassed, but time was precious and he couldn't delay here. So Lin Changqing quickly mobilized the chaos mana, infused it into the magical seed of the great 5 elements, returned to the ruins technique, and then held it in place. Then he mobilized the thunder mana to generate a Jinlin water mine, and then boom, it was fired. Then a great 5 elements returned to the ruins technique was also shot at the 3-eyed thunder ape that had been locked early in the morning. Soon, he saw the results of the 2 attacks in his spiritual sense. The Jinlin water mine hit one of the 3rd-level thunder apes, causing 7 holes to bleed, and then fell to the ground and stopped moving. Another great 5 elements returned to the ruins technique hit the 3rd-level thunder ape, and its entire body disappeared. In the end, only its hands, feet and head were left, falling to the ground. The sudden change scared the remaining 3rd-level thunder ape on the top of the mountain to death. It immediately roared in fear, and then rushed down the mountainside without thinking twice. At this time, Lin Changqing was calm instead. He quickly mobilized the thunder power again and generated a Jinlin water mine. However, before he launched it, a Wu Earth Divine Thunder hit him, and there was a loud boom. Lin Changqing was knocked to the ground directly. Fortunately, he had been using the defensive spiritual weapon, although it did not completely prevent the Wu Earth Divine Thunder. But after being weakened by the 3 defensive spiritual weapons, when it reached him, only 2 or 3 of its power was left, so he still held on. However, the nature of the Wu Earth Divine Thunder is that it is more than 1,000 pounds heavy and has great power, so Lin Changqing was knocked down. But it was not Lin Changqing's character to not fight back when being beaten, so when he fell to the ground, he also fired the Jinlin mine. Although the 3-eyed thunder ape was prepared this time and formed a thunder shield in front of him. But it was useless. It could not resist the Jinlin mine at all, and the result was that the shield was broken, and then the remaining power directly hit the 3-eyed thunder ape. He also bled from all 7 holes, fell to the ground, and rolled down the mountain. Chapter 619 12 Thunder Fruits. Lin Changqing took 2 rejuvenation pills for himself, and then approached to check the situation of the thunder ape. He found that it had lost consciousness. Although it was still alive, it looked like it was not far from death. Lin Changqing had no time to take care of it now. So after a little consideration, he put it into the spirit beast bracelet, and then quickly rushed to the top of the mountain. Soon, 3 thunder fruit trees came into his sight again, and Lin Changqing's consciousness quickly swept over. He found that 15 thunder fruits were missing from the fruit trees. He speculated that they should have been digested by the 3-eyed thunder ape. Of course, there is a very small possibility that they were taken away by a cultivator with special means, but this has nothing to do with Lin Changqing. Now there are only 12 thunder fruits left on the tree, and all of them are ripe, so there is nothing to say. Lin Changqing immediately took out a jade box, and then quickly picked them all against a falling thunder. He originally wanted to get 1 or 2 more roots down, but he was worried that there would be changes under the mountain, so he gave up in the end. He just quickly checked the other thunder ape that was hit by the Jinlin mine and found that it was dead, so he put it into the spirit beast bracelet. He also picked up the remaining hands, feet and head of the thunder ape that was killed by the great 5 elements Giksa technique and put them into the storage bag. Then he immediately left the top of the mountain quickly. In this short period of time, he had been hit by the falling thunder several times. Fortunately, he could still bear it, but he was injured now and didn't want to cause any more trouble. So he quickly left Jili Mountain from another direction. There should still be a fierce battle at the foot of the mountain, but since he had already got the things, he would not join in the fun, so as not to get himself trapped. With a light gauze magic weapon on him, the process of leaving Jili Mountain was still very smooth, and there were no adult thunder apes on the mountain. Therefore, after 3/4 of an hour, he slipped out of Jili Mountain and confirmed that there were no other people around before putting away the light gauze magic weapon. Then he drove the flying sword away, but he didn't expect that he would meet 4 monks just after leaving Jili Mountain for 70 or 80 miles. They had a tacit understanding. Seeing Lin Changqing in a mess, They didn't think much and wanted to take advantage of the situation. They immediately scattered and surrounded him from a distance. Seeing this situation, Lin Changqing couldn't help laughing. Unexpectedly, someone was so ignorant of life and death that he rushed to give him spiritual stones and resources, so he could only accept them with a smile. However, he didn't want to waste too much time, so he thought about it, and a lot of purple light flew out from the spirit beast bracelet. Then they automatically divided into 4 groups and flew towards their respective targets. Then there was a burst of purple light, and soon continuous screams came over. After the purple crystal scorpion came back, Lin Changqing quickly went up, collected the spoils, and destroyed the body. The harvest was not bad. The 4 unlucky guys provided him with 10 storage bags, as well as the spiritual tools they used, and some messy things on their bodies. The continuous screams just now were quite noisy. He didn't want to attract attention, so he left the place quickly. Without a clear target, he flew around for 2 hours and confirmed that no one was following him. Lin Changqing deliberately made a big circle and spent several hours to return to the small valley where he was in seclusion. After arranging and activating the defense array, Lin Changqing breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't expect that things would go so smoothly this time. Although it took 7 or 8 days, he didn't spend too much to get 12 Thunder Extreme fruits again. With these things, this trip to the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm can be regarded as a complete success. I just don't know what those people at the foot of the mountain would think if they could really reach the top of Jili Mountain and see that there were only 3 bare fruit trees left. I don't know if they will be so angry that they vomit blood at that time. When Lin Changqing thought of that scene, he couldn't help laughing. Then he suddenly thought of something else, so he immediately took out the 12 Thunder Extreme fruits he had just obtained and the remaining Thunder Extreme fruit from last time. He put them all in a jade box and affixed high-level soul-sealing talismans and soul-hiding talismans. Then he hid the jade box in the body of the 3rd-level Thunder Ape that was killed by the Jinlin mine. He did this because he was worried that someone would check the storage space after he went out, and he didn't want anyone to know that most of the Thunder fruits fell into his hands. Although it was not safe to hide things like this, Lin Changqing was just trying his best. After finishing these things, he began to check his body to make sure there were no major problems. He began to take the middle-grade spirit stone in his hand and use his power to restore the chaotic mana in his body. He actually still had some reservations about the Great 5 Elements return to the ruins technique just now. He knew that the fundamental method had been promoted by 3 small levels, and the mana in his body was much stronger, and the corresponding power of the Great 5 Elements return to the ruins technique was also increased a lot. So he didn't use his full strength, and only infused about 80% of the chaotic mana. Otherwise, if he used all his strength, the 3rd-level Thunder Ape would probably be completely decomposed and annihilated into ashes, and nothing would be left. Now at least he could harvest a crystallized spiritual eye, and he felt very good. After another 2 or 3 hours, Lin Changqing finally recovered all his mana, and at this time, another day had actually passed. So today should be the last day to stay in the secret realm, so he thought about it and decided to recycle the array he had arranged. In case he was suddenly excluded from the secret realm and had no time to deal with it, a 2nd-level portable array disc would require a lot of spiritual stones. But after doing this, he had nothing to do, so he started to fiddle with the storage bags he harvested yesterday. In fact, he had resisted the Wu Earth Divine Thunder yesterday, and the 2 top-grade defensive spiritual tools had been scrapped. Now he only had 1 top-grade defensive spiritual tool left, so Lin Changqing's first target was the top-grade and top-grade defensive spiritual tools. Fortunately, the attack method of the purple crystal scorpion is not as destructive as the thunder method, so most of the defensive spiritual tools were successfully preserved. So this time, Lin Changqing found 4 top-grade and 2 top-grade defensive spiritual tools among these spoils. He immediately refined all the 6 selected defensive spiritual tools to ensure that he could use them at any time. Chapter 620, Quota Obtained. Lin Changqing sorted out the remaining low and medium-grade spiritual stones, elixirs, and offensive and defensive spiritual tools in the 10 storage bags. He sorted out the usable materials, and even some thunder-attributed materials that were obviously produced in this secret realm, and put them away. He dealt with the useless clothes, sundries, and daily necessities on the spot. He was leaving anyway, so he didn't have to worry about any trouble. The next time this secret realm is opened again will be 3 decades later. Who knows who will know by then. After doing this, the secret realm still didn't respond. Lin Changqing was about to wonder if he had remembered the date wrong. Fortunately, at about noon, he finally felt a huge repulsive force acting on him. Lin Changqing relaxed his body and stopped resisting, so he was instantly teleported out of the secret realm. When he opened his eyes, he had returned to the island hidden and shielded by the formation. But it seems that the situation is not too optimistic, because there were more than 3,000 cultivators when they entered. Now, those who come out may not even have 2 floors, which means that there are only more than 500 people left. And many people were in very bad condition, and even many monks were injured. Lin Changqing even saw a few familiar faces, all of whom he had seen at the foot of Jiufeng mountain, but these were the ones who were injured. In fact, he was still very curious in his heart, wondering if these people had finally reached the top of Jiufeng mountain. But the people of Wandao sect did not leave too much time for them to think about it, after a clear high-level spiritual sense swept over. Although the monks at the scene were more or less indignant, everyone was very conscious and quieted down. Zhao Hongyan appeared in front of them again, and after taking a look at them, he said lightly, "Congratulations. You left the Liji secret realm alive. Although the casualties are a little greater than the sect expected, this also proves your excellence. So in addition to the cultivators who meet the requirements of Xianshu sect and can join Xianshu sect, the rest of you, as long as you are willing, can directly join Wandao sect." Hearing this, the surviving cultivators presented a little joy on their faces. At least with the words of the Yuanying ancestor, joining the sect was guaranteed. At this time, Lin Changqing suddenly reacted. He would not be the only one who met the requirements among all the people. Would that be too high profile? But at this time, he had no way to do anything, so he could only bite the bullet and let nature take its course. Sure enough, Zhao Hongyan said again, "Now, the cultivators who have obtained 3 thunder fruits, you should stand up. Congratulations on getting the quota to join the Xianshu sect. Now take out the thunder fruits and show them to everyone." When Lin Changqing heard this, he could only bite the bullet and walked out, and took out the prepared jade box, opened it and let everyone see the 3 thunder fruits. But at this time, another team of 5 cultivators came out, and everyone showed the thunder fruits. Seeing this situation, Lin Changqing was relieved, as long as he was not the only one. But at this time, the 5 people who came out stared at him straight, obviously having some guesses in their hearts. But Lin Changqing pretended to know nothing. Although the 5 of them were cultivators in the late stage of foundation building. And they were able to pick enough thunder fruits, and I believe they also had strong means, but he still didn't see it. At this time, the other more than 500 cultivators on the field were boiling today. If vision could kill, the 6 of them would have died more than 100 times. Those monks who found a place to hide after entering the secret realm are not mentioned. But those monks who fought with a 3-eyed thunder ape and suffered losses, and finally got nothing, are different. They wanted to peel off the skins of the 6 of them. In their hearts, it must be that they fought hard in the front and attracted most of the thunder apes. Lin Changqing and his men had the opportunity to get enough thunder fruits, which was equivalent to picking up their bargains. How could they not be angry? But Zhao Hongyan didn't care so much. With a wave of his hand, 18 thunder fruits fell into their hands, and then he threw a jade token to each of them. Just like that, he took away 3 of his thunder fruits. Lin Changqing was still very reluctant. "Didn't you say you just wanted to take a look? Why did you take everything away?" But he wouldn't say anything nonsense. After all, he still had a lot of thunder fruits, and there was no need to be the first to come out. At this time, Zhao Hongyan said, "This is the certificate for joining Xianshu sect. Keep it for yourself. I will take you back to Hangshan Island later, and then teleport to Xianshu sect together." When Lin Changqing and the others heard it, they immediately agreed. This time, they took the treasure ship again and returned to Hangshan Island after several hours, but this time they did not enter the market. Instead, they entered a huge building outside the Wandao sect. When Lin Changqing got off the treasure ship, he realized that it was the teleportation hall. And at this time, there were already more than 20 people waiting in front of the door of the teleportation hall. They all looked relatively young, ranging from 7 or 8 years old to teenagers. I think these people are the disciples whose spiritual roots meet the requirements of Xianshu sect this time. Lin Changqing looked at them and found that many of them were young cultivators who had not yet practiced or had just practiced Qi. These people should not have much intersection with him, so he just took a look and then stopped paying attention. However, at this time, Zhao Hongyan gave everyone a shining second-level spiritual talisman. He said, "This is a second-level teleportation talisman. You will stick it on your body later. It can protect you from the harm of the power of space." Everyone responded, and after sticking the talisman, they followed Zhao Hongyan into the teleportation hall. Lin Changqing found that this place was quite large, and there was more than one teleportation array, and it was estimated that there were at least 3 or 4. Here, he didn't dare to scan his consciousness randomly, so Lin Changqing could only observe with his eyes. However, the few teleportation arrays he saw were not as big as the one he saw in Qinghai Corner. After Zhao Hongyan and everyone else stood on the teleportation array, he spoke again. "You are all cultivators who went out of the Wandao domain. It was also the Wandao sect that gave you the quota and sent you to the Xianshu sect, so I hope that in the future, if anyone among you has achieved success in cultivation, you will take care of the Wandao sect." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621, Top Grade Thunder Spiritual Root. When the 28 people present heard this, they all agreed immediately, including Lin Changqing. Anyway, he was still a long way from being successful in cultivation. To be considered successful in cultivation here, one must be a Yuanying cultivator, so Lin Changqing agreed without any psychological burden. Besides, Zhao Hongyan didn't ask for anything specific. Anyway, if he met a cultivator from Wandao sect in the future, he would help him if he could. Seeing that everyone agreed, Zhao Hongyan nodded, and with a wave of his hand, 12 high-grade spirit stones flew out and were embedded in the teleportation formation. Then he cast another spell and the teleportation formation was immediately activated. A ray of light shot straight into the sky, and then everyone in the formation was instantly teleported out. When Lin Changqing regained consciousness again, they had already arrived at the territory of Xianshu sect. He couldn't help but look around and found that this was also a teleportation hall, and it was even larger in scale. However, it can be seen that this teleportation hall is busier than that of Wandao sect, with people coming and going in an endless stream. And when they just arrived, they were asked to leave the range of the teleportation array immediately, because there were still people behind them who had to continue to teleport over. Lin Changqing even saw 2 or 3 teams similar to theirs around, probably also affiliated forces of Xianshu sect, sending people over. Fortunately, Zhao Hongyan led them, otherwise they would not know where to go next. Everyone followed him out of the teleportation hall. When they got outside, Lin Changqing and the others saw that this teleportation hall actually occupied the entire island. Protected by a huge formation, the transparent light covered the entire island. It was so spectacular and beautiful. When they thought that they would be disciples of Xianshu sect in the future, everyone felt very proud. However, Zhao Hongyan had seen too much, so he didn't have time to sigh here. He directly threw out a treasure boat, carrying 28 of them, and quickly left the teleportation island. Flying southeast on the sea, about 3/4 of an hour later, they saw an extremely huge island. Lin Changqing guessed that this should be the island where Xianshu sect was located, but it was too huge and there was no way to estimate its size. Looking from afar, they thought they had come to a continent. The most profound feeling they had was big. When they entered the range of this island, they were immediately refreshed. It can be clearly felt that the spiritual energy here is much stronger than that on Hangshan Island. It is estimated that there should be a very high-level spiritual vein here. Lin Changqing speculated that it should be above the 6th level. Then Zhao Hongyan took them and flew for a while, and came to a huge mountain gate. The 3 words Xianshu sect came into everyone's eyes. When they arrived here, Zhao Hongyan collected the treasure boat and asked everyone to follow him. Then he took them on foot and entered the mountain gate of Xianshu sect, where someone immediately received them. Anyway, I don't know how Zhao Hongyan handed over. The 28 of them were finally taken to a hall called the Outer Gate General Affairs Hall. A middle-aged giant and cultivator received them. Looking at them, he smiled and said, "I am the elder on duty at the Outer Sect General Affairs Hall today, Zheng Yongsan. You should see me often in the future. Congratulations. From now on, you are the outer disciples of Xianshu sect. However, before you officially apply for the Identity Jade card, I need to help you test your spiritual roots again. Then, based on your spiritual roots, we can decide your specific destination. After speaking, he touched the storage ring in his hand, and a spirit testing plate appeared on the table. Lin Changqing knew at a glance that this must be a high-level spirit testing plate, because it was much more advanced than the one used by their family. Moreover, he had just grown a thunder spirit root, and he also wanted to measure it again to know what his thunder spirit root aptitude was like. So he stood up first and said, "Disciple Lin Changqing, meet Elder Zeng." "Let the disciple come first," Zeng Yangxin said with a smile. "Okay. It doesn't matter who comes, so let you come first." After listening to it, Lin Changqing responded, and immediately stepped forward to press the spirit testing plate and input a small amount of mana into it. As expected of a high-level spirit testing disc, the results appeared very quickly. The 5 spiritual roots of gold, wood, water, fire and earth were still the same as before, and there was no change. Each of them was still 20 points of qualification. However, the result of this measurement was an additional thunder spiritual root, and the spirit testing disc showed that his thunder spiritual root had 78 points of qualification. This was exaggerated. Even Zeng Yangxin couldn't help but exclaim after seeing it, and then looked up and down at Lin Changqing. Finally, he asked, "Your spiritual root is quite special. Not to mention that the qualifications of the 5 element spiritual roots are even. You actually have such a good qualification for thunder spiritual roots. It's not even a top-grade spiritual root, but it's a top-grade thunder spiritual root anyway. But now the problem is that the practice you practice is not a thunder attribute practice. Isn't this just a mess? Such a good thunder spiritual root is wasted in vain." Lin Changqing had long guessed that someone would interrogate him like this, so he prepared his words early in the morning and knew how to answer. So he immediately said, "Elder, I used to live in Jiufeng City, and there were no high-level spirit testing discs there. So at that time I only measured the attributes of the 5 spirit roots, and I practiced the 5 elements exercises, which is why I am like this now." Zeng Yangxin nodded after listening, which was similar to what he had guessed. So he thought about it for a while, and then asked, "What are your plans now? Do you have any idea of dispersing your power and rebuilding? I remember that there are several high-level thunder attributed exercises in the sectu. If you need it, I can help you analyze and recommend some." When Lin Changqing heard this, he quickly shook his head and refused. "Thank you for your kindness, Elder. I don't have this plan yet. Let's wait for a while, and wait until I am completely stable here, then we can talk about other things. Moreover, the 5 element attribute exercises I am practicing now were obtained by chance, and the quality is not low. I feel that it is very suitable for me. In addition, I now have the cultivation level of the 8th level of foundation building. So I won't consider dispersing my power and rebuilding for the time being." Zeng Yangxin couldn't help shaking his head after hearing this. The decision of this outer disciple was so ignorant that it could even be said to be short-sighted. Chapter 622, Tongshan Road to the Heart. Zeng Yangxin wanted to warn him that the road to cultivating immortals would only become more and more difficult in the future. He should take advantage of his youth and have time to disperse his power and cultivate again, so that he could go further in the future. However, he thought that this was not his disciple, so there was no need for him to be so earnest, so he stopped talking. So he changed his words and said, "It's up to you. Give me the entry certificate in your hand." When Lin Changqing heard him say this, he knew that he had successfully fooled through this time, so he quickly handed over the certificate. Zeng Yangxin clicked on it, entered the mana refining certificate, and then entered Lin Changqing's name and spiritual root information. Then he thought about it for a while, and still entered the information of B36753 on it. Then he threw the jade card back to Lin Changqing and explained, "Refine it now with your essence in blood. The B36753 above is the cave allocated to you. Starting from next month, 100 sect contribution points will be deducted every month. Of course, there are better caves in the outer sectu if you want to live in a better place. You can also use the sect contribution points to exchange them at the General Affairs Hall. However, it is not easy to earn sect contribution points, so you should grasp them well." Lin Changqing quickly agreed respectfully, then pricked his finger, dripped blood and began to sacrifice his identity J token. He knew that this thing was very important, and it was estimated that the sect contribution points earned in the future should also be recorded in this J token. After doing all this, Lin Changqing stood aside on his own accord, and then others began to introduce themselves and then stepped forward to test their spiritual roots. Except for the other 5 foundation-building cultivators, whose spiritual root qualifications were relatively common, the other 22 little guys had good qualifications. The worst had 3 spiritual roots, and there was even an earth spiritual root. Even Zheng Yongxin paid special attention to him. But these little guys were assigned to Area D or Area C. It was estimated that those 2 areas were prepared for disciples in the key training period. The other 5 foundation-building cultivators were assigned to the same area as Lin Changqing, which was Area B. The numbers were also very close, and it was estimated that they would be neighbors with him in the future. It took about half an hour for everyone to have their spiritual roots tested and their identity J tokens sacrificed. At this time, Zheng Yongxin glanced at all of them, and then said lightly, "Our Xianshu sect is the top power in the Xinghe realm. The territory directly and indirectly controlled is tens of billions of miles. Therefore, there are many disciples under the sect, but the sect does not have a rule to pay monthly salaries to outer disciples. So you all need to find ways to obtain cultivation resources. And the best way to obtain cultivation resources, or sect contribution points, is to complete sect tasks. You should grasp it well. If you want to accept a task, go to the sect's task hall. If you want to change your skills, go to the sect's Sutra Pavilion. The rest of the sect rules and other information are in this book. You can read it slowly after you go back." After saying that, he also deliberately glanced at Lin Changqing. And then waved his hand, and many storage bags flew out. Lin Changqing and his friends, each of them got one. After a little sacrifice, they saw the things inside: 2 light blue clothes embroidered with the Xianshu Zhong mark, and a book. There are also 500 low-grade spirit stones and a second-level low-grade flying sword. It is estimated that these things should be the benefits given to outer disciples by Xianshu sect. However, Lin Changqing didn't care too much about these things. Instead, he focused on the book. When he took it out and looked at it, it was not too thick, just a thin book, probably only about a dozen pages. But now is not the time to watch, so he put the book back in his hand and prepared to study it carefully when he went back. Lin Changqing thought that was about it. The next step should be to let someone take them back to their own cave. Unexpectedly, Zheng Yongxin spoke again. "Okay. The time is almost up, and that's about it for me here. The next step is for you to go to Tongshan Valley and go through the questioning hard array. Everyone follow the disciples on duty at the door." As soon as he finished speaking, a foundation-building cultivator in light blue clothes came in from the door. He greeted them, then turned and left. Lin Changqing and the others hurriedly followed him. When Zheng Yongxin mentioned the heart-searching array just now, Lin Changqing's heart beat violently. He was very nervous now. Lin Changqing was not a cultivator from this world, and this was what he feared the most. If he couldn't bear it and revealed his identity, it would be troublesome. But now he was inside the Xianshu sect, and there was nothing he could do. He could only take one step at a time. He only hoped that the heaven-protecting soul shield in his sea of consciousness would be more powerful, otherwise he would be in danger. When everyone left the General Affairs Hall and came to the square in front of them, the foundation-building disciple who led the way released a flying boat, and then called everyone to get on. Then he took them to the Tongshan Valley. At this time, another foundation-building cultivator in the group began to get close to the disciple who led the way. Lin Changqing saw him stuff 5 middle-grade spirit stones into the disciple leading the way, and then he said, "Brother, excuse me. I have something to ask. What is the Tongshan Valley we are going to, and this questioning hard array? Is there any explanation?" The disciple leading the way did not refuse, but calmly put the spirit stone into his arms. Then he smiled and nodded and said, "Not bad. My junior brother and I hit it off at first sight, so let me give you a brief introduction. Tongshan Valley is what we call it privately, and its official name is Shenglong Valley. There is a Tongshan Road in Shenglong Valley, with a total of 1,080 steps. As long as someone can walk this Tongshan Road, he can immediately become an inner disciple of Xianshu sect, enjoy the treatment of the inner elite disciples, and if necessary, the sect will even designate a giant and cultivator to accept you as a registered disciple. So people often go to Tongshan Road, and those who succeed will go all the way to the sky, so later we simply call that place Tongshan Valley. However, I advise you to think carefully before you go to Tongshan Road, because you need to pay 1,000 sect contribution points for each attempt. Regardless of success or failure, the sect contribution points will not be refunded. So if you are not 70% to 80% sure, don't try it casually. After all, Sect contribution points are not so easy to earn. Quotation mark. Chapter 623, Ways to Enter the Inner Gate. After hearing this, everyone on the spirit boat couldn't help but nodded. After all, this kind of warning is still very pertinent. The disciple who led the way was very satisfied with the reactions of the crowd, thinking that it would be a good relationship. So he continued, an ordinary foundation-building disciple, excluding various expenses, is estimated to save less than 1,000 sect contribution points a year. So, don't waste it casually. After all, many places in the sect need sect contribution points. You will know the details by looking at the book. As for the heart-searching formation, it was not in Taoishan Valley before. It should have been arranged there recently. I think it is specially prepared for you, the new disciples. I don't know the specific situation inside, because I have never been in. But I think it is just to identify some people who are malicious or have ulterior motives towards the sect. If you have no ghosts in your heart, I think there should be no problem passing the formation. After hearing what he said, everyone had a basic understanding of Taoishan Valley, and most people were relieved. But this does not include Lin Changqing. Although he had no ill will towards Xianshu sect, he was not a cultivator from this world after all, so he was still very uneasy. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Changqing to truly relax until the dust settled. But on the surface, he still looked calm and did not show any nervousness, otherwise if others noticed something was wrong, it would be a big trouble. At this time, the foundation-building monk asked again, Brother, we just came and don't know anything. I just heard you say that. It seems that there should be a few ways to become an inner disciple. Please tell us about it. The disciple who led the way couldn't help shaking his head inside, saying, Where are there so many ways? There are only 3 or 4, and each one is not simple. You know the Taoishan road, this is the first one. The second method is that the top 10 in the 3-year small competition of the outer sect and the 10-year competition will get a place to enter the inner sect. The third method is to be promoted to become a purple mansion monk and pay 100,000 sect contribution points, then you can directly become an inner disciple. The fourth method is that an elder of the sect above the Jinden stage will take a fancy to you and accept you as a personal disciple, so that you will automatically get a place as an inner disciple. These are the total. Do you think any one of them is easier? When everyone heard it, it seemed that no one method was easier to complete. The specifics of Taoishan Road are still unknown. But after listening to this, Lin Changqing felt that the second method should be easier for him. After all, he has always been known for his strong fighting ability. If he really wins the competition through the platform, it will be the most beneficial to him. However, now is not the time to think about these things. Let's consider the future after successfully passing the level of the questioning heart array. After listening to the introduction, the foundation-building cultivator continued to ask, Brother, what is the 3-year small competition and the 10-year big competition? What is the specific difference? The disciple who led the way frowned and was a little impatient. He didn't expect that this kid would have so many questions. However, thinking of the 5 middle-grade spirit stones in his arms, he patiently answered, In fact, there is not much difference. For the 3-year small competition, any interested outer disciples can go to the General Affairs Hall to sign up. For the 10-year competition, all outer disciples are forced to participate, and there will be special assessments. If there is no progress in these 10 years, then they will be deprived of the body of the outer disciples of Xianshu sect and then expelled from Xianshu sect. Like this Xianshu grand ceremony, it happens to be the sect's 10-year competition. But you are lucky, because you just entered the sect, so you don't have to participate in the competition this time. Hearing this, Lin Changqing finally couldn't help it, and asked directly, Then senior brother, when does the Xianshu grand ceremony start? If we want to participate in the 10-year competition, can we just go to the General Affairs Hall to sign up? The disciple who led the way couldn't help but look at him when he heard this question, but still nodded and replied, That's right. This junior brother understands it very thoroughly. If you really want to participate in the competition, just go to the General Affairs Hall to sign up. The real Xianshu ceremony will be held in half a month. If you are really interested, you should hurry up. Lin Changqing listened, nodded, and thanked him. He had already made up his mind. As long as he could pass the questioning formation this time, it would be better to become an inner disciple as soon as possible. Although he didn't know what extraordinary benefits were offered to inner disciples. But it shouldn't be too bad, otherwise why would so many people flock to it? Others wanted to continue asking questions, but at this time, the flying boat had entered a large valley. So the disciple who led the way waved his hand and stopped talking. Then he controlled the flying boat and landed in the center of the valley. In fact, at this time, there were already thousands of cultivators gathered in the valley, but none of them wore the clothes of the Xianshu sect, so it was easy to tell that they should be cultivators who had just joined the Xianshu sect, just like Lin Changqing. The 28 of them also stood around the group of people very consciously. At this time, Lin Changqing had time to look at the valley carefully. In fact, this Taoishan valley is quite large, but there are only two places that are most conspicuous. One is the innermost part of the valley, where there is a faint white staircase, which seems to be covered by the formation. It is estimated that there is a Tongshan road. The other place is a giant palace not far from them, which covers a very large area and looks at least thousands of acres in size. And it gives people a feeling of being integrated. Lin Changqing immediately deduced that this may be a cave magic weapon. And it is very likely that the heart-searching formation is in this giant palace. Sure enough, after waiting for more than an hour, and two more groups of people came, suddenly there was a burst of high-level monks' consciousness, unscrupulously sweeping across the scene. Then everyone heard a faint voice ringing in their ears. All new disciples listen to the order. After entering the heart-searching formation in the palace, find a place to sit cross-legged and do not walk around at will. As soon as the voice finished speaking, the door of the giant palace opened automatically. Chapter 624 3 Questions. Seeing this situation, everyone walked in consciously, and Lin Changqing was no exception, although he didn't really want to go in. But he didn't dare to show it casually at this time. Besides, this was the general trend, and he had no choice. After Lin Changqing entered the palace, he found that many places were all white. It seemed that they were blocked by prohibitions. It couldn't be seen or touched. There must be something inside that didn't want to be seen by others. There was only a 3-meter wide road under his feet, leading directly to a huge magic array. Lin Changqing sensed it and found that it was actually a 4th-level magic array. This made his heart beat fast, and his face looked a little bad. Because the Yushin Soul Protection Shield in his Sea of Consciousness was also only the 4th level, but the 4th-level questioning heart array must be presided over by someone. But after comparing, he was really unsure in his heart. He didn't know if the Yushin Soul Protection Shield could hold up. Not daring to stay in the center, Lin Changqing strolled to the edge of the formation and found a random place to sit cross-legged. Soon, the whole heart-searching formation was filled with people. When no one came in, the palace gate was quickly closed. Then there was a slight fluctuation of the formation, and then everyone fell into silence. Lin Changqing's head was also groggy. Soon he entered a very warm embrace, just like when he was in his mother's arms when he was a child. This made Lin Changqing forget the environment he was in and completely relaxed. Until a magnificent, irresistible voice sounded in his sea of consciousness. So you belong to that force. What is your purpose in coming to Xianshu sect? The Yushin Soul Protection Shield in the Sea of Consciousness flashed at this time, and Lin Changqing suddenly became alert and woke up immediately. No, it's not completely awake. The brain should still be between half asleep and half awake, but his self-awareness is completely awake. Knowing that this is the most important moment, dare not delay. He quickly replied, I was just a casual cultivator before, and I didn't belong to any force. The purpose of coming to Xianshu sect is to get a better cultivation environment, so that I can go further on the road of cultivating immortals. After a while, the voice asked again, do you come to Xianshu sect for any ulterior motives, or have you accepted any tasks? Lin Changqing immediately replied, there is no ulterior motive, nor have I accepted any tasks. I don't have any bad thoughts about Xianshu sect. After a while, there was still no response, and Lin Changqing thought it was over. Unexpectedly, the voice asked again, will you be loyal to Xianshu sect forever? Lin Changqing immediately replied, I don't know. But if the sect doesn't let me down, then I won't let the sect down. Unexpectedly, as soon as the voice fell, a slightly cold voice sounded in the Sea of Consciousness, and it was just one word good. Hearing this voice, Lin Changqing was awakened. He turned around and saw that basically everyone in the heart-searching formation was awake. Suddenly, 7 or 8 people were pulled into the air by an invisible force. They immediately knew that something was wrong and that they had been exposed. They begged for mercy, but unfortunately, they were quickly pulled into the white fog, and soon there was no movement. Lin Changqing knew that those people were probably those who wanted to sneak into the Xianshu sect with a special purpose or mission. If he was not taken away, did that mean that he had passed this level? With this guess, Lin Changqing was secretly happy in his heart, but he did not show it on his face. Then the faint voice just now rang again in the hall. The test of the heart questioning level is over. All new disciples can look for the on-duty disciple who brought you here just now, and let him take you back to the assigned cave. Hearing this, Lin Changqing was overjoyed and completely relieved. At this time, he confirmed that he had really passed the level. Then he followed the crowd and left the hall, and soon found the disciple who led them just now. At this time, there were already more than a dozen people gathered around him. After Lin Changqing greeted them, he waited by the side. After a while, the 28 people arrived. The disciple who led the way asked everyone about the number of the cave mansion they were assigned. He still used the flying boat to take everyone on board, and then flew towards Area B of the outer gate. He had already agreed with Lin Changqing and the others to send the 6 foundation building monks back first, and then send the others. This flight took more than half an hour, and this was only a small part of the outer gate. It can be seen how huge the island where the Xianshu sect is located is. When they arrived above Area B, where Lin Changqing and the other 6 were assigned, they saw many courtyards dotted below. That's right. The cave mansions assigned to Lin Changqing and the others were these courtyards at the first entrance. When they landed, they just landed in front of Lin Changqing's courtyard and looked at the number B36753 on the door. After the disciple who led the way confirmed with Lin Changqing that it was the courtyard assigned to him, he instructed him to use the identity jade card to activate the courtyard's restrictions. In this way, this courtyard was bound to Lin Changqing's identity jade card, and it would belong to him in the future. The other 5 people were also assigned nearby. They found their own courtyards very smoothly and activated the band smoothly. Then Lin Changqing and the other 6 thanked the disciple who led the way and exchanged names. The disciple who led the way was surnamed Guo and his name was Shuking. The other 5 foundation building monks were all surnamed Song. They seemed to be monks from the same family. Finally, Lin Changqing also reported his name, so the 7 people knew each other. In addition, everyone came from the same place, so they agreed to come over and have tea when they were free in the future. After everyone agreed, Guo Shuking took the remaining 22 little guys away. After Lin Changqing greeted the 5 brothers of the Song family, he returned to his own courtyard. To be honest, this courtyard is quite large. The overall shape is a square, with a length and width of about 20 feet, and there is also a pavilion and 2 ordinary peach trees in the courtyard. There was also a small house in the middle of the yard. Lin Changqing took a look and found that there were 5 rooms inside. He was quite satisfied with the environment of the yard and the layout of the house, but the yard was too big and seemed a bit empty. The furniture in the room was quite complete. As long as it was tidied up a little and equipped with some daily necessities, it could be lived in normally. Chapter 625 Tempting Inner Gate Benefits. Lin Changqing immediately started to arrange it. The things he often used were all in his storage bag, so it was completed quickly. However, after thinking about it, he took out the 2nd-level thick earth mountain defense array and arranged it in the yard, and then activated it directly. After doing all this, Lin Changqing felt a little safe. Then he chose a room to rest. This sleep was dark, and he rested for a whole day and night. When he opened his eyes again, it was 2 days later. Lin Changqing slept very soundly. After all, he had just experienced 3 months of the Thunder Extreme Secret Realm and the entry experience of the Xianshu sect. Now he has finally recovered and should prepare for the next step. But before that, Lin Changqing needs to study the entry book in his hand carefully. There should be a lot of information on it. He will do it as he thinks of it. He immediately took the book out of the storage bag and read it. Turning to the end and taking a look, there are only 12 thin pages in total. Lin Changqing spent a quarter of an hour and finished it quickly. The first and most important point is the location of each functional building. There is a detailed map on it. As long as you follow the corresponding coordinates, you can easily find the target. With this map, if you want to go somewhere, you can find the corresponding coordinates and arrive quickly, and you don't have to ask for directions. The second is the sect contribution points, which is just as Lin Changqing guessed. All the sect contribution points earned are stored in your identity jade card, and the increase and decrease are all operated through the identity jade card. But within the Xianshu sect, there are many things that require these sect contribution points. For example, Starting from next month, if you want to continue to use the current courtyard, you must pay 100 sect contribution points before you can continue to use it. Including the Sutra Pavilion that Lin Changqing is most interested in, entering it to record and read books, every hour requires a little sect contribution point. Even including the tribulation platform that he cares about the most, every time you use it, you need at least 30,000 sect contribution points. So in Xianshu sect, if you don't have sect contribution points, it can be said that it is really difficult to move forward. There are two ways to obtain sect contribution points. One is to go to the task hall and accept the tasks issued by Xianshu sect. For example, after completing tasks such as planting, alchemy, and refining, you can get the corresponding sect contribution points. Another way is to directly exchange with spirit stones. 10 low-grade spirit stones can be exchanged for 1 sect contribution point. In other words, the courtyard he lives in is equivalent to paying 1,000 low-grade spirit stones every month. However, Lin Changqing needs to go to the General Affairs Hall to exchange them for sect contribution points. It should be emphasized here that 10 low-grade spirit stones can be exchanged for 1 sect contribution point. But conversely, 1 sect contribution point can only be exchanged for 5 low-grade spirit stones. Xianshu sect does this to prevent someone from taking advantage of the characteristics of contribution points and making profits. The third point is about the sect rules. In fact, this is the least important point. The content inside is summarized. It means that you cannot suppress your fellow disciples, let alone betray the sect, or even bully your teacher and ancestors. There are many details in it, but generally speaking, with Lin Changqing's honest and conscientious character, he should not violate these sect rules. Of course, if he really violated it, it is estimated that no one would see it, let alone leak the news. The fourth point is about becoming an inner disciple of Xianshu sect. Most of it is similar to what Guo Shuking introduced. But in the introductory book, the benefits of becoming an inner disciple are mainly introduced. The first is to enter the inner gate and get a permanent free cave. You can go to the Internal Affairs Hall to choose where and how it is, but once you choose it, you can't change it. Unless you are promoted to a big level again, you can choose a cave again. Otherwise, you can't change it. Secondly, as an inner disciple, Xianshu sect will start to have a fixed monthly salary every month, but the specific amount is not recorded in the introductory book. The third is the most important benefit. After becoming an inner disciple, you can choose an island as a support for cultivation in the territory directly controlled by Xianshu sect. As long as you are still an inner disciple of Xianshu sect, the sect will not reclaim this island. You can manage this island yourself, or you can take your family or clansmen there and manage it on your behalf. Seeing this benefit, Lin Changqing's hair stood up. This benefit was really suitable for his needs. His first reaction was to become an inner disciple as soon as possible, and then choose a good place to bring his family over immediately. But suddenly he realized that he was too unlucky to be stranded in this world. Now in this world, he is a lonely person. Where can he find his family? Suddenly, he became boring again, a little lazy, and didn't want to move. But after a while, he reacted and didn't want to waste time, so he continued to read on. The last benefit is that if you become an inner disciple, you may be accepted as a true disciple by the Sexuaning cultivators, or even the Huoshan period cultivators. In that case, it will be a smooth road. Even if you don't have this luck, you have the opportunity to often listen to the preaching of these high-level cultivators, which is also very helpful for cultivation. Lin Changqing has a deep understanding of this. When he went to the puppet gate and listened to the preaching of the 9 shadows, true Lord, he has benefited from it until now. Therefore, this point is also very attractive to him. At the end of the introductory book, it is also very hidden that there are some unexpected benefits that are also given priority to inner disciples. Anyway, as an outer disciple, you must be ranked last. Of course, this point was added by Lin Changqing himself in his heart. The introductory book has ended here. However, the content inside can be said to be very important news. But in Lin Changqing's eyes, there is only one point to sum it up, that is, to become an inner disciple as soon as possible. Only this point is the most important, and the others are secondary. With this understanding, Lin Changqing felt that he should act immediately. Because there is a very suitable opportunity recently, he will not let it go. That is the outer sect 10-year competition held at the same time as the Xianshu ceremony. Guo Shuking had introduced this matter to them the day before yesterday. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.